Davis on pole, Vanderkrant in second. It's going to be sprint round action here tonight. Let's go racing here at Daytona. It was a good start there from Davis in comparison to Vanderkrant in behind. Cowan's absolutely bogged it up and already dropped out of the top three here as they come down towards turn one for the first time. There's biffing and barging between Gallen and Cowan. These guys are still going at it after last season. They survived for this time by though. Through turn 2 and 3 they come. Nice and clean, boys. Keep it up as they come up to...
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannons insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride, whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
ride with Shannons.
Call 134646 for a quote.
Through turn one, it was a horrible start from De Bono. He's absolutely bogged it up and gets eaten alive by Dixon and Gowans as they come on through. Through turn one they come, and they all spread out around in towards the first sector of the Silverstone circuit. They look all right at the moment. Okay, there's already been a car spun round. That's Jordan Ferguson offline.
Is green, green, green at Road Atlanta here as well. Faulkner did get away. De Bono is tucked in as well. Unfortunately, Houghton is on that outside line. De Bono does want to tell him to do. He's got the job. De Bono's overtaken. Now can he get Ben Faulkner? Up through turns for 2 and 3 they go. Round the right-hander, dropping down the hill. Faulkner's out in front. De Bono second. Houghton third. Ratcliffe in fourth. No real dramas going into turn 1.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be.
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanak and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent up the inside, but he hasn't went it, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we get a good run. He's up the dots, just absolute thinker, but it's a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into SRW TV, and welcome to the GSRC as well. For SRW and GSRC presents the Australian Open Wheel Nationals here tonight across both leagues' channels. I'm one of your commentators here tonight, Hamish Munro, joined by my co-commentator as always, Brad Hudson, as well as Zach Caban. Boys, this is going to be a massive night of racing, and one that I'm incredibly excited for because it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, good evening, Hamish. Yes, we've talked this up all season. It's finally here. I guess it's Christmas for us, and we've got another commentator up in the box with us. Good evening, Zach. How are you?
Brad, Hamish, good evening to you. Good evening, everybody. No, pleasure to be here. What a night we're set up for, of course. 10 weeks of grueling competition from the GSRC side of things, of course. This is week 11 for our guys, going up against the best of the best from SRW. A rare opportunity to bring the sim racing world together in a united sort of form and go open wheel racing on a Wednesday night. And no better setting to do it than, of course, the Silverstone circuit in England. I mean, we had 4 choices at our disposal, but when you think big time open wheel racing, the home of the British Grand Prix would have to be very close to the top of the pile. Beautiful conditions there, set fair for a great night of racing, and a star-studded lineup, which I'm sure we'll be going through in more detail in just a few moments.
Well, it's going to be a massive night of racing, of course, Zach. You get to see the side of things from the SRW side. Myself and Hutto get to see the side of things for GSRC as well. It's really going to be a beautiful collection of just pure skill across the board, across both leagues, and everyone is going to be eager to try and claim that they are the best between the two leagues, whether it's a Jackson Rehana or a Mark Gomesh or a Dylan DeBono or a Danny Davidson or even David Gallo as well. These drivers are going to be out there, and they're going to be wanting to try and just prove that they are the best right now in Australia at open wheel racing.
And let's be perfectly honest, the stakes are high tonight because not only is the title on the line, but also interclub bragging rights as well. And let's be perfectly honest, we sit here on the cusp of the inaugural running of this event. We're very hopeful that it's the start of a very long and prosperous, successful relationship between the two clubs and also for the Australian Open Wheel Nationals themselves. You're right. I mean, it could be any one of probably half a dozen, maybe more drivers tonight. I mean, I look at the GSRC side of things, and I know you guys will delve into the SRW troops and ranks in just a moment, but Jackson Rehana, formidable when it comes to open wheel racing across a diverse range of open wheel machines. He's proven his form in IndyCars. He's proven his form in Super Formula Lights. Of course, that is the car of choice tonight. Chris Noble's a Formula V champion in our ranks, and also recently an LMP2 champion as well. And then, of course, you go down the order. There's a guy like Aidan Luthwaite. We're looking at the practice results at the moment, and the SRW boys have, cleaned up the top 3 positions in practice, but that means nothing once racing gets underway. 60 minutes is a long way around here. Just about anything that could happen, will happen, can happen. And, you've got to be in the right place at the right time, particularly if there's, an unexpected safety car. That could weigh into strategy play, among other things. But I look at someone like Aidan Luthwaite, who's leading the GSRC IndyCar series at the moment, going into the final round on Friday night. He could spring a surprise tonight. Practice might not necessarily be a fair reflection of where he's going to be once qualifying's wrapped up. And as you can see on our screen now, boys, as live pictures come in from the virtual Silverstone circuit in England, qualifying underway. And I want to ask you both how important you think that is in the greater scheme of how tonight's going to play out, setting yourself up here with a good qualifying position. Is that going to be a decisive factor tonight or not?
I think Silverstone qualifying is incredibly important. This is a circuit where it can be tough to pass, it can be easy to defend, and you really have to push yourself to try and get the door open to make those overtaking opportunities happen. And I think the better that you can qualify at the front of the field, not just because of that factor, but also the little hidden factor, the chaos factor. Anything can happen out there. We know there's a lot of drivers on track. 40-odd drivers around Silverstone could end in complete carnage, and that will pay dividends to those who can qualify up the front and who can keep things clean in the race. And I think qualifying, it's going to be immense. It's going to be incredibly important as well, Zach. And I think the winner tonight, ideally, is actually going to come outside the top 10 in qualifying. I cannot possibly see, with the strength we have in the field, I can't see anyone, as one of the GSRC boys went round just then. I believe that was John Baldwin.
It's probably a good thing that was a sighting, right?
I think with the level of talent we have out there, and I think with the level of talent amongst the entire field, I think the top 10 is going to be super, super tight, super, super close. You mentioned Jackson Rayhana, we mentioned Mark Gomes as well. The SRW boys are strong in that top 10. I mean, we had 5 drivers contesting for the championship in the final round. So I think those boys, if they can qualify up the front, that's where we're going to see the winner tonight. We could get a cheeky, sneaky podium finisher from outside, but I think it's really going to come down to who's the quickest, but also who's the most consistent as well.
And also a talking point that we should elaborate on is the car of choice itself, the Super Formula Light. It's a car that has been a regular in our service for the last 2 terms at least. If you're a regular GSRC audience, and this broadcast, we should point out, being produced by the great people at SRW, being simulcast across on the GSRC broadcast page on Facebook. So good evening to those of you that are tuning in there, wondering why things look a little bit different tonight. Yes, Super Formula Light has been a mainstay for us now. Term 2, Term 3, it will come back in Term 4, launching Monday week. And it's a car that has its fans. It's a car that has found its niche audience. It's produced some fabulous racing and competition, but it's not straightforward. It's a very difficult car to get your head around. So, I mean, that is also going to play a role here tonight as well. How familiar are these guys with this circuit, with this car? How comfortable are they with track conditions and how practice is played out? Yes, we've had 2 hours of that to rip and tear through this evening, but it all hinges on 15 minutes of qualifying here to set yourself up to then go at it for 60 minutes, and then it's the unknown elements, the variables that could get thrown at you throughout the course of 60 minutes that could make or break tonight. Will there be a sting in the tail? Will there be a mechanical issue, car damage? What about maybe some biff and barge on the circuit in the closing laps, especially if the win is there for the taking? These guys, yes, there's going to be, teammates helping teammates from within the respective clubs, but there's also going to be that inner club assistance, I think, as well. A different sort of approach tonight being taken. In saying that, when we get to the last couple of laps, if it's an all SRW 1-2-3 or an all GSRC 1-2-3, bet bottom dollar that if they're tightly bunched, the gloves will come off and they'll put the inner club, similarities and nuances and teamwork to one side, and it'll be all out war, every man for himself. So I think we're in for a really good hour of racing once we get to it.
Well, qualifying underway, of course. We're already getting the first times in. Danny Davidson has gone provisional pole position, a 150.7 here with Jackson Rayhana P2 on the road, 151.17. So we are already seeing that the front row of the grid could have one different car from each different series, pretty much. Now, it would be the cherry on top if it was Gallo and Rayhana being the current champions of each respective series. But I think having one of each up there is going to be extra special, because it really comes to a head. It comes to a head of that old adage of SRW versus GSRC on track.
And that's what it's all about. That is what tonight is about. Not necessarily, I'm just getting some intel as well, and I'm sure you guys are going to elaborate on it a little bit later on about Phil Vella and the lengths that he's gone to just be on the grid tonight. So thanks to one of the key organisers from the GSRC side of things, Josh Zeno, for that information. 1, 2, 3, it's 6 and 4 at the moment in the top 10 in favour of SRW, ladies and gentlemen. And you're looking at the left-hand side of your totem pole as Jackson Rayhana goes top of the timesheet by 0.15 of a second, 150.390. And then it's SRW sweeping the rest of the top 5. Aidan Luthwaite, Scott Barchin, Sam Chapman at 6, 7 and 8 as they all get relegated by the Velocity Racing team. Matt Cesario, and then, of course, Doug Gowans has wedged his way up in there as well. Scott Barchin's improved to 6. That totem pole's going to be going silly over the next 12 or so minutes. We won't worry too much about that just now, as Aidan Luthwaite, he wasn't in the top 10 in qualifying, in practice, I should say. There he is, straight at the top of the time pool. So it's GSRC 1-2 at the moment. But these cars are just slowly warming up. These guys are easing into things. They may well come back to pit lane, get a fresh set of rubber and go out and have another crack at a Hollywood number in the closing stages of this session. It's 1/100th of a second between Luthwaite and Rayhana at the moment. 1 minute 50.3. There's so much to be excited about here. When you look at, as you said, the two champions, David Gallo's down in 7th at the moment. Jackson Rayhana's up in 2nd. Some of these guys will qualify better than they race. Some will race better than they qualify. There's that element to take into consideration as well. We'll be keeping an eye on positions gained and lost throughout the course of the night as well, I'm sure. The point that I wanted to make before all hell broke loose on the totem pole was, if you look at that, ladies and gentlemen, there's a way of deciphering who's who in the zoo. So the numbers are all white. The red plates are the SRW contingent. The blue plates are the GSRC contingent, and the black plate is the car in focus at this particular point in time, which for us is the SRW champion as he comes back across the line to complete his 3rd lap of the session and go out again in pursuit of some improvement there. He's unable to improve on 7th that time around. Some other interesting variables to have a look at throughout the course of tonight. Who's a dark horse from your side of the tree here, guys, that may not have necessarily hit their straps just yet, but will charge hard in the race?
On board with him now, Marcus Knitska. He is ultra consistent. He finds pace in the race as well as his teammate Dave Roberts. You need to keep an eye on these two tonight, Zach. They are just ultra consistent. Dave won season 2 of 2024 for the Super Formula Championship here in SRW, and he did it by being consistent. And he did it by being, 30 or 40 points behind in the last race, and both the championship leaders crashed out, and he won the title in season 2.
Yeah, it was a magic moment we saw in season 2, but as we saw, like you said, a very, very consistent season by Roberts, and he came away with the chocolates.
I think they're probably teetering on the edge of outside edge picks, Zach. I mean, we look at our top end of town: Phil Vella, Danny Davidson. I mean, Dylan DeBono, David Gallo, Daniel Byrne. These guys are not outside edge picks for us. We know what they can do. We know how quick they are. Dougie Gowans, he has Bradbury'd his way on to win this past season, so he could be up there in the end of the race, depending on some outside factors, whether the top runners come together or anything else which may happen in this race. So, yeah, it's real open for me, but I think those Pace Syndicate boys, they've always got something about them. They've always got something hidden in the back of their locker behind a hidden plate, and I think they could put something together tonight that's ultra special. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on them throughout the race.
Have a look at the top of the tree. Danny Davison has just improved, boys, so you're back on top at the moment. But again, it's 1/100th of a second. These are extraordinary margins here. 50.371 for Davison, 50.382 for Luthwaite, a 390 for Rayhana, and then Dylan DeBono comes out and puts a 10th on all of them and says, boys, catch me if you can. Dylan DeBono, of course, I'm very familiar with from karting circles and Series X3, Circuit XL circles as well, but very, very handy in the open wheeler and the sim rig. Aidan Luthwaite's the interesting one for me. So there's a couple of things here. Aidan Luthwaite, as I mentioned earlier, is in contention for our IndyCar series at the moment. They're off to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on Friday night, 125 laps await them there. And Luthwaite's been spending much of his time this week chopping and changing between preparing for Silverstone and preparing for Indianapolis. It's probably a good thing that Silverstone's fresh in his head. He was here a couple of weeks ago in this car. It was a week 9 track for our guys. So let's wait and see what comes of the chopping and changing and just how quickly he adapts from car to car. Aidan Luthwaite tonight. He's been relegated to 3rd, Danny Davison in 2nd, and Dylan DeBono 1st. So a few moments ago, it was the GSRC front row. Now it's an SRW front row, and then it's 5 and 5 in the top 10. And you look at the margins, 0.2 of a second covers the top 6. That tells you how close tonight is going to be. And I guess Brad and Hamish, as I throw it back to you guys, consistency, hitting your markers, and not mucking it up on pit lane. They're just a couple of important talking points here. Every 10th is going to prove costly if the field is going to be that tight all night long.
Yeah, 100% on that one there, Zach. I mean, you want to try and hit your markers every single time, especially in this car. I mean, you mentioned it before as Callum Ross and Nita just off the track there, down the back straight. I mentioned it before, trying to stay as consistent as possible in this car can be ultra difficult at times. You mentioned it's a tough car it's a tough nut to crack, is this car. Me and Hutto have spoken about a lot that it's good at the bottom end of actually getting comfortable and getting up to pace, but it's harder to find that top end pace to actually find those little tenths or 2 tenths to try and pip your opponents out on track. So you can find pace comparatively to the old F3, but it's finding those little margins, those little moments where it could be an instantaneous little blip of the throttle that will get you that tenth or that 2 tenths that gets you that little bit quicker lap time in qualifying. So yeah, it's small mistakes I think are going to have to be mitigated tonight. Not necessarily the big mistakes. Of course, they're an obvious mitigation that these drivers are going to want to try and control. But actually staying mentally clear and trying to stay focused and consistent out on track is going to be the real tough challenge for them. And again, you mentioned it, not safety cars, pit stops. Pit stops going to be massive tonight. Trying to maximize when you take that fuel. If you're going to take tires, when do you take tires? It's not often that we see drivers take tires, but the 1 week that we did have it happen, someone gained pretty much the majority of the field and went up to the front of the field based on their pace and based on the fact that they decided to take tires later in the race. So that's another little element as well that they have to think about and plan ahead for. They can't just do it on a whim because it may not pay off for them.
A couple of other interesting things here just creeping into mind as we roll through qualifying. And I mean, we're already 13 minutes into qualifying. Geez, that's gone quick, hasn't it? So essentially, anyone that's on a lap now should be able to squeeze one more in once they get back to the line. And that will be that. So for someone like Aiden Luthwaite, Jackson Rayhana, they're only, a 10th, 1100ths of a second off pole position. Last roll of the dice. But as the boys have already alluded to, there's a strong possibility that you could be a genuine race-winning contender from anywhere within the top 10 tonight, and maybe just beyond. And I'm looking at Chris Noble at the moment in 10th place, on the cusp of being outside the 10. It's only 500ths of a second that he enjoys over David Gallo. That might come as a surprise to you guys that he's sitting down in 11th at the moment.
Oh, well, I think this past season especially, David hasn't been one of the strongest qualifiers, but he's been one of the strongest racers we've had. So he's very consistent across his laps. He can hit consistent quick laps, and he can hit clean laps as well. He's also really good at avoiding incidents happening, and that'll be qualifying done and dusted for Chris Noble as he pulls it out off the side of the track. So yeah, don't take David's current qualifying ability to gospel, because he is very strong in racing conditions, as Dougie Gowans comes into pit lane, so his qualifying is now done and dusted as well. Same for Sam Katakazinos, who's already in pit lane, Callum Rosanita, Greg Heaney as well from the GSRC side of things, as well as Tyler Schiff and Greg Johnston. So those guys out of qualifying at the moment in pit lane. 15 seconds to go, Zach. It's busy, and it's going to be a last run of the dice for these drivers. I mean, Mark Gomes, he sits top of the timing tower. This is his final attempt at a lap. He cannot possibly start a new lap before this 15 minutes is up. Same goes for Dylan DeBono, who's P2 at the moment. And just up the road from him is we have a little bit of smoke off track, and that's a car off track. That's Phil Vella off track. That's qualifying done and dusted for him as well.
Checkered flag is out, boys. This is it. The run to the line. Gomes there on screen. You saw him a few moments ago. To the top of the timesheets by, again, 100th of a second on Dylan DeBono. That's been a recurring margin at the top end of town throughout the course of this qualifying session. Can he find 100th or two more to extend that bumper, give it a little bit more comfort? Because at the moment, there's nothing in it. DeBono's still out there having a run. He's coming to the line now. He's across the line. Can he find some time on Gomes? No. 1 minute 50.405 that time by. It could be the GSRC drawing first blood here tonight. No improvement from the pole sitter, the provisional pole sitter, the number 9, 1 minute 50.442. So again, both De Bono and Gomez in the top, in the 1 minute 50.4s that time around. To the line comes Gallo. Can he find his way into the top 10? Yes! 9th he goes. Have a look at that. Very nicely done. Chris Noble, before he pulled his way up into the top 5. De Bono and Davison are 2nd and 3rd, and then 4 GSRC regulars in the top 6. Rayhana, Noble and Loothwaite, Vella and Chapman for 7th and 8th, so that's one of each on the 4th row, and same again on the 5th as Gallo edged his way into the top 10 at the expense of Doug Gowans. And Scott Barchin clings to a top 10 starting position there. We're a minute and a half into overtime in the qualifying session. We're just waiting to see if there's any improvement further down the order. Yes, Eduardo Zamora goes from 35th to 34th, pipping Nathan Verney. And further afield, Richard King's going to be the last one to come to the line. In fact, no, he's not. He bails out of it, goes to pit lane. Sam Stride we pick up in 16th at the moment. Now, I want to also highlight there's a fair discrepancy in terms of the numbers representing the field here. My count is 14 GSRC, and in a field of 38, that leaves 24 SRW. And the GSRC boys, we love an underdog tag, and they have definitely drawn first blood here in the form of Mark Gomez. What about that? 1 minute 50.273, and that is an extraordinary margin. 1 minute 50.281. So that's De Bono's second, a 50.327 for Danny Davis and Jackson Rayhana, a 3.28, and then a 3.68 for Chris Noble. 0.2 of a second, gents. 0.2 of a second covered the top 8. Extraordinary. If we get anything like that's Formula V sort of territory, those margins. That is Formula V sort of territory. If we get anything like that after 60 minutes, by G will be out of breath, out of voice, and reaching for the strepsils and honey. Magnificent qualifying session. And Mark Gomez, second across the line in our championship. It didn't all go his way on the final night at Road America last week, a 5th and a 3rd to complement a win in race 1. But he has drawn first blood here at the Silverstone circuit.
Well, it's quite ironic, the front row of the grid. Dylan De Bono, forever the bridesmaid, never the bride. He'll start first for SRW. Mark Gomes, the bridesmaid of last season for GSRC as well. So it's quite an ironic front row of the grid, ladies and gentlemen. I might just appreciate it more than others, but it is incredibly, incredibly ironic to me. Starting grid for this race, though, will be as follows. Mark Gomes will start pole position here tonight for the GSRC side of things. He'll start alongside Dylan De Bono, so it is a GSRC SRW front row of the grid. You'll love to see it. Danny Davidson, Jackson Rayhana will start on the second row of the grid with Chris Noble and Aidan Loothwaite on the third. Phil Vella, Sam Chapman on the fourth row of the grid with David Gallo and Scotty Barton making up the top 10 here in qualifying. Dougie Gowans, Darren Fahey, they'll line up in behind as then scroll back to Daniel Burns, Scotty Pocock, Adam Maverick, Sam Stride making up the top 16. Matty Gerard, Sam Katakazinas, Jason Depp and Matt Schmidtke will make up the top 20, Zach, but it's going to be a tough field even throughout the rest of it.
Indeed, and we'll go back through that if you want. Marcus Konecka and Matt Tesario, they are on the 11th row. Mitchell Noble, Richard King, the 12th, and then Jeff Adams, Dave Roberts, the 13th, John Baldwin, Andrew Rushworth, the 14th, Benjamin Brook and Sean Benici, the 15th. In fact, Benici's familiar. In fact, he's got a foot in both camps tonight, but he's representing SRW and he's one of our regulars as well. Callum Rosanetta, then Shane Ratcliffe from 16, Greg Heaney, Eduardo Zamora from 17, Nathan Verney, Dean Sinkovich, 18, Tyler Sheaf, and Greg Johnston from 19. And as an indication as to just how much is at stake here tonight, and just how much action we're expecting over the course of the next 60 minutes, there are no less than 5 people in race control, including one of our supercar stalwarts, Greg Favell, and Joe Baldwin, the president of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club at the moment as well. So a lot riding on the next hour. Mark Gomez, see, this is the thing, isn't it? Second in the championship, but this might be their grand finale. They might view this as somewhat more important, and there might be a little bit more weight attached to getting a win in the Australian Open World Nationals. If they can win here, second in the championship, well, so what? We won the Open World Nationals. That means, that means just a little bit more. It's kind of like in the old days when Bathurst wasn't part of the championship in the supercars. They're the sort of comparisons I'm trying to draw at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Quick tip and why, boys?
Oh, quick tip. Hutto, I think, Phil Vella, probably the easiest pick for us in the world.
Got to go, Mr. Moonboot. He was fantastic last week. Came back, made up 29 positions. Hopefully he'll put it together again tonight for the SRW camp.
Hang on, Mark Gomez has just ducked in and out again here, and we're getting ready for a start. I'm hoping that Gomez will jump back onto the grid. He does. Dylan DeBono's still ready to join us. Jackson Rayhana as well. We're taking our time here. 3 minutes into the roll and form idea, and it'll be a standing start, ladies and gentlemen. 60 minutes on the clock. Dylan DeBono, Danny Davison, Jackson Rayhana, Chris Noble, and Aidan Luthwaite, the next 5 after Mark Gomez on pole there. They're blinking in and out at the moment, gents. They're obviously just dotting the last I's and crossing the last T's as far as their setup and everything else is concerned. We should have a start any 2 o'clock. If you're just joining us, we're breaking new territory tonight, aren't we? The Australian Open World Nationals, the first interclub challenge between the wonderful people at SRW and the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Of course, the GSRC, one of the great success stories of the COVID era from 2020 onwards. And it's one of their own in Mark Gomez that's going to lead this field to green. You mentioned Dylan DeBono. I'm pretty sure he's also got a runner-up tag at an New South Wales XL Championship
He's
as well.
forever the bridesmaid. He is forever the bridesmaid.
Very familiar with being second. I mean, he's had some success and some race wins along the way, obviously. But when it comes to putting it all together and netting the end reward at the end of the campaign, yeah, you're right. Always the bridesmaid. Again, that tag could be about to change tonight here. Only time will tell. I didn't pass on my tip, but I like Rayhana or Luthwaite. I just reckon that those guys over the course of 60 minutes, Rayhana's due a little bit of luck, and Luthwaite has just been coming on leaps and bounds. No matter what he's jumped behind the wheel of in the last couple of weeks on the platforms of the GSRC, he's in somewhat of a purple patch at the moment. So we'll wait and see if he can capitalise on that. And as we say, like, we look at
very long grid, Zach. I just want to mention,
isn't it? See, this is the thing. People who know our work on the platforms of the GSRC will know that we're roll and form in about 2 or 3 minutes, and we're good to go. We're normally talking too fast to compensate the lack of time to fit everything in. We've got a bit of time to just what we do in the industry. We call it padding. And 30 seconds is the memo from race control now. So everyone should be rolling into position and ready to rock and roll. And once you can see the clock ticking away in the top left corner of your screen, it should set back to 0 once the green flag flies. So we're ready to rock and roll. Gomez, DeBono, the front row, Davison and Rayhana, the second row.
Rayhana yet to join the grid just quickly, Zach. He's not on the grid yet.
Now, that could be the first big talking point of the night if he doesn't jump back on the grid. No, and he hasn't. So the lights are about to go on, and there's your first big story of the night. Jackson Rayhana on pit lane. Set to go. The Australian Open World Nationals. Lights out, away we go. Beautiful conversion off the line from Mark on the inside to sweep across on the front of Dylan DeBono and take the lead to turn 1. So the GSRC drew first blood in qualifying and draw first blood in the race as well, leading the field through the arena section of the Silverstone circuit. But look at DeBono wanting to race hard early. Down the inside into the left-hander. He went up on the outside to set himself up for the inside, and DeBono holds sway at the front of the field. And the good news, boys, is we're all through safe and clean.
Somehow we have made it through the initial section of this circuit, but Gomes and DeBono side by side in towards the left-hander under brakes. DeBono gets the job done, keeps it at the front of the field at the moment. Gomes has to sit back and just wait in pure patience for an opportunity to get it past DeBono. But DeBono, like he does best, is going to be like a Great Wall of China at the front of the field. He's going to try and hold him off as best he can throughout the rest of this race.
You might have also seen on the bottom of your screen there, boys, the 21, Jason Depp. Drive-through penalty for a jump start. So already a setback for the SRW side of things. The setback for the GSRC is Jackson Rayhana nowhere to be seen. He's done the Harold Holt. He's gone. So now the hopes of the club ride on Mark Gomez, Chris Noble and Aidan Luthwaite, all in the top 5 at the moment. But the man to catch is DeBono down the hanger straight for the first time.
They come down towards the top of the hill. Massive braking zone. Massive opportunity for overtaking if you can line it up correctly. DeBono covers the inside line from Gomes. Does well to hold him off through there, Zach. And it's a major pressure moment so early on in the race. To have him breathing down your neck like that, Oh, it would just crack any nut out there, even the toughest of them, I would think.
I'm getting questions in our Discord servers. Where's Jackson? Yeah, we'd like to know the same thing. We've got no idea. He's on pit road now and rejoining the race. He's a lap down. So he's obviously had a connection issue partway through the session. Partway through the switch from qualifying to race mode. Jason Depp in serving his drive-through penalty at the moment. Action aplenty in the early stages. 2x2 in some parts. Still in the top 10, sorting themselves out. Chris Noble and Phil Vella arguing over the same piece of real estate. Vella going to P6 as Noble manages to somehow hold on to 5th. And Dylan DeBono, we're riding on board with him at the moment. And there is Jackson Rehana going a lap down. Extraordinary scenes at the start of this race. Again, one of those little things that you just don't take into consideration or see happening until it's presented to you.
He needs a safety car now. He needs a safety car to get back into this race, and it needs to be early. I mean, he's going to need an absolute miracle to get back towards the front of the field, and your heart has to break for him. No matter what side of the fence you sit on, whether it's SRW or GSRC, your heart has to break for Jackson Rehana, because he was one of the favourites coming into this race, and to have issues like that so early on, it's a real shame.
Indeed it is. You wouldn't wish it on anybody. But again, we talk about it all the time on our platforms, that the technical issue that has brought about Rehana's demise, the technical issues are the mechanical of the sim world, the ones that you can't control. As frustrating as that will prove to be until we go around next year for the second Australian Open World Nationals. Gomez had a look, had a think about it, opted against it. Caution the better part of Valor at the moment for him. It's only lap 2 of a 60-minute affair. It can be won and lost in the early stages. There's no doubt about that. But now Gomez is under pressure from Davidson. Davidson having a look down the inside and can't get the job done. So Gomez piggy in the middle at the moment. He's the meat and the sandwich of an SRW 1 and 3. And Luthwaite and Vella just hanging on for dear life there in 4th and 5th. And Noble slipped back to 6th. Gallo, your defending champion, of course, in Super Formula Lights, he's moved his way up to 7th, already proving what you guys were talking about early on as being a good racer.
Davison now looking for an inside line on Mark Gomes. In towards the left-hander, side by side, tries to tuck it up, gets the job done, into P2 for Davidson. Gomes now under pressure from Luthwaite in behind, and before that move happened, I was going to mention it, from P1 down to P12, it went SRW, GSRC, SRW, GSRC, etc. It was even all the way down to P13, but not anymore. Now we have a double up at the front end of the field. Luthwaite, though, up the inside of Gomes. Gomes runs it wide. Vella's going to try and take advantage as well if he can. Mr. Danger, one of the best in the field for SRW, multiple-time champion and currently racing with a moon boot. We now call him the astronaut because he is willing to go anywhere to get this thing done, and he is going to try and find an opportunity past Luthwaite and Gomes to get it on the podium.
You've got your own Buzz Aldrin. It's fantastic, isn't it? Have a look at this. Luthwaite back down on the inside of Gomez. So the two GSRC boys are getting the elbows out early, fighting over 3rd place on the racetrack. Vella and Noble in behind them. That's an interclub rivalry, 5th and 6th at the moment as we head down towards the final sequence of corners. Luthwaite has seen Rehana's demise and thought, now's my time to shine. I've got to really put the foot down and fly the club colours as best I possibly can, and his teammate Greg Heaney will be watching on further afield, chatting to his young gun in Discord and just saying, look, it's yours, it's there for the taking. You've just got to put your head down, your bum up, and think about it for 60 minutes and try and avoid any margin of error. And have a look at that. Gomez, who's lost 3 spots already, under pressure from Vella. Vella unable to find a way by it just yet, but there's still a long way to go.
Hutto, we've had Matt Gerard into pit lane. Have we had any news on why he's had to bring it into the pits?
Yeah, just looking back, he seems to have lost his front wing in a little bit of contact, but he's got that front wing on again, and he's, making his way back out in the circuit.
Very good.
Also, Sean Benici was in there as well, boys. Any news on what happened to Sean?
Looking through, back to you guys on that one then.
Copy.
Biggest movers of the race thus far. Tyler Sheaf currently up 8 positions at the back end of the field. Wasn't comfortable coming into this race tonight, Zach. He was not happy with the Silverstone choice. He was really struggling, but he's proving once again that he's a liar to himself because he's able just to make up positions like it's nobody's business. Greg Heaney for GSRC, he's up 6 as well. So's Ben Brook of SRW. Richard King, Mitch Noble, they're both up 5-2. So some big movers already in this race. Biggest loser, most obvious one on track, Jackson Rayhana, down a lap and down 34 spots at the start of this one.
It's good to see that both clubs have the same type of characters, those that talk one game and go out and perform polar opposite. We have a couple of guys that sell themselves short or underplay exactly how they're going to perform car off and on the... Oh, that's Chris Noble. That's Chris Noble. Big blow to the GSRC. Hopes there as Chris Noble plummets down the order. At the end of the hangar straight, this is how it happened. All on his own in the braking zone. Locked it up, pirouetted and gone. Noble drops down to 30th, minus 25. I mean, the only other loser as far as positions lost is concerned with more on his name than that is Jackson Rayhana, down 34. Extraordinary stuff there, and it's a long way back for Chris Noble. Again, another guy that would benefit from a safety car, but I can't see any of them coming just yet. We're right on board with Vela now, trying to capitalise on Gomez. Looks good. Got it. No.
Oh, no.
Might have it on the exit. Yes, Gomez. Lost out. And David Gallo's off the road as well, boys.
Oh, no. David Gallo, defending champion of SRW, off the track and in the kitty litter at the moment. Just a real...
The chips are falling, aren't they?
They really are. They really are. I'm surprised it's not Tanbark that's used on the side of this track. They're falling out. Oh, that was big old contact. He got into a GSRC sandwich there, and it's a bit like when you put a bit too much spread on the bread. He just slipped out the back end when you go for a bite.
That looked to me as though that might have been Rayhana's car that was a lap down.
It was.
Correct.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well...
Might be some answering to have happen here for Rayhana from RC. I mean, we know he's got the pace. He's trying to put some moves on the boys here up the front, and he's right behind Darren Fahey at the moment, who's in a tight contested battle with Chapman and Barton, flying the flag for GSRC. As Gomes is going slow into the the last couple of corners. What has happened to Mark Gomes here? Why is he dropping spots? I think he might have a slowdown.
He must do. That could be the only answer to such a rapid decline and a drop down the order. He's down in 8th now, and they are gobbling him up from all angles. Barchin capitalises as well. Fay's in there too. So too Gowans. Stride leads that next pack of cars through, but he's just been passed by Pocock. Ravis in there with Katakazinas. They're arguing over 11th and 12th and 13th at the moment. Oh my goodness gracious me. Action aplenty, and De Bono in all of that has extended his lead out to a second on Denny Davison and Aidan Luthwaite. But look at them trading barbs as well. Luthwaite just clings on to second for the moment, but De Bono is disappearing.
Yeah, he's pulling a De Bono move right now, Zach. We've seen him do this many, many times before. He gets out in front. P2 and 3 decide they don't want to work together to catch him. They want to battle for their own personal gain. And he just runs a clean, consistent race and runs ahead at the front of this thing. We could already be seeing the winner on track right now, but there is a big but in that. Dylan De Bono has been known to push too hard whilst 10 seconds up the road, make a mistake and end up in the wall. So that's Mark Gomes off in the background with Scotty Barton. Massive moment through Maggots and Beckett's.
And 2 GSRC boys coming unstuck. Oh, massive monster moment. Have a look at that. The two of them have locked wheels, going through Maggots and Beckett's. And on the run down towards the end of the lap. It's only the end of the 6th lap, boys, but so much has unfolded here, so much drama. So many contenders have been rubbed out of it early on. That will bring about unscheduled pit stops for Gomez, I'm sure, yes. And probably the other protagonist in that, of course, which was... And there's the onboard shot of it to prove exactly what's unfolded. Jackson Rayhana also back on pit road too. So, yep, the chips are falling in a big way. That does help Chris Noble out. He manages to get back up to 23rd position as a result of all of the carnage unfolding around him. But, yeah, for the GSRC, that's a monstrous blow to have both Gomez and Barchin on pit road. And I think Barchin had to get on the tow rope. He may not have. He may have been able to limp back under his own steam, but he's now on the pit box. And Barchin and Gomez pushing the proverbial uphill for the rest of the night, gentlemen.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough task for those boys to get back at the front of the field. May need to be some carnage ensuing for that to happen for them. But in saying that, the first 12 and a half minutes has already had so much chaos happening amongst it. Could it get worse from here? Could it get a lot more chaotic throughout the rest of this race? You have a feeling there's somewhat of an electricity out there that is just sparking a little feeling in your in your chest, in your soul, that these guys are out for blood. They're not fighting. They don't care about series. They don't care about what series they represent. They want to go all guts, all glory out there. And some of them, I think, may not necessarily care who they take with them on that journey.
Correct. There's a couple of other elements to that. Oh, De Bono wide on the exit. Caught the sausage curb. They can be cruel on their day. It didn't cruel him on that occasion, but I wouldn't be trying it too often tonight if I was Dylan De Bono. Davison had a look down on the inside of Luthwaite, couldn't find a way by. Vella and Burner next through. So SRW are 1, 3, 4, 5 at the moment. Aiden Luthwaite, the odd one out. But, as I said, if it's not Rayhana, it's probably Luthwaite that you've got to keep an eye on from a GSRC standpoint tonight. And as has proven to be throughout the first 13 and a half minutes, my suspicions were spot on. But now Luthwaite under serious pressure as Davison plunges down the inside.
Trying to get the move done is Danny Davidson. Luthwaite going to hang it round the outside. Does well. Covers the inside line at the right-hander. Gets the job done to hold the position here. One driver I want to give a shout out to, Sam Chapman. We cannot look too far away from Chapman as Davison and Luthwaite are still going here. Because Chapman, we know he's got some pace on his day. These guys, they're going to be going at it all race, it feels like, Zach. They're not going to be giving this up, but they have to be careful about rubber banding Phil Vella into this battle, because he is going to make it much more difficult for them.
He is destined to make these blokes pay if he latches on. There's no doubt about that. Richard King's just gone to 14th because Marcus Knitska has dropped off the circuit and dropped down the order. Right on board with Luthwaite at the moment. There is Knitska.
Oh, this may be a safety car.
This could be a safety car. He's parked on the exit. I can't tell exactly. It looks like the exit of Cops, maybe. He's had a moment. We'll have a look.
He's out the way of the camera. There he is there.
There he is.
Where are we?
Yep.
Yeah.
We are on the exit of turn, what would be the old turn 1 on the old circuit. Now, is that far enough off the road now to harm's way for race control not to deploy the safety car, or are we going yellow, and is that going to bring a few people back into the race? There's certainly some pit lane activity, so there's a few guys out there with an inkling that we might go yellow. Fay, Stride, Schmidtke, all to pit lane this time by, and Noble off the road now as well.
Yep. Hutto, are we hearing anything from Barbs in terms of safety cars getting called, or has he been allowed to tow back?
I think Knitska's been allowed to tow. He's in the pit as we speak. A lot of cars are plummeting straight back into the pit lane due to some heavy contact just inside turn 1 there with a few other drivers. Unfortunate there for Knitska.
Oh no, there's been a big contact here, thank you, Hutto, between Adams and Noble a bit further back in the field. So Chris Noble's not only gone from bad to worse here, Zach, as they give up a position here to Heaney just ahead of them, as well as Mitch Noble, no relation, and Andrew Rushworth as well.
So interesting that Knitska was allowed to tow back. That probably brings a couple of people undone potentially with their strategy play of jumping into pit lane there. Still the top 18 yet to stop. Greg Heaney up 15 spots, is 18th at the moment. And then you look at the next 18, and I'm noticing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars have come to pit lane in all of that out of the next 19. So still... 75% of the field yet to transit the lane, and I'm not sure whether we're expecting 1 stop or 2 tonight, boys, but for the guys that have already stopped on as early as lap 8, you suspect it's going to be a 2-stopper for them. De Bono and Luthwaite, the margin now 2.7, Davison, Vella and Byrne, and then Sam Chapman minding his own business in 6th spot at the moment. Gowans, Pocock, Katakazinas and Lavis make up the top 10. It's 7-3 at the moment, SRW to GSRC. As we head down the back straight once more, we've got our eyes on Tesorio and Roberts now, the all SRW battle.
These guys have been cooking the last couple of laps here, Zach. They have spread out a little bit, though, after that pit stop for some of those drivers when Kanitska was off the road. They rolled the dice. The gamble did not pay off for them that time by car 9 drive-through penalty contact on lap 6. That is going the way of, I believe, Mark Gomes. So he has been he's been seen as being at fault for that one with himself and Barton there. Very interesting. Yeah. May have to argue that might be race over for him.
Oh, without doubt. I mean, if we're not going to get a safety car for a car parked on the side of the circuit, then I can't see race control being too willing to throw a yellow tonight. And therefore, any sort of luck, yeah, actually look at that right there. Gomez is parked up and just got on the tow rope and said, you know what, I'm out, I'm done. And that's his concession. If you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen, a huge blow to the chances of the GSRC contingent. It was already going from bad to worse with Ray Hanna missing the jump, with Gomez involved in that accident, and now that he's had to go down pit lane twice, he said, that's it, my day is done. My hopes are dashed. The pole sit-up is done. Another one bites the dust. And this is the thing, isn't it? The intensity of this race so far, I don't know how it plays out for you guys regularly when you go racing in Super Formula Light any other week of the year, but tonight just feels as though it's going to be the intensity of the last 10 to 15 minutes of the race for the entire 60 minutes. What I mean by that is our guys will normally, they'll race hard for the first couple of laps and sort themselves into position, and then they'll ease into a rhythm, just get through the first 2 pit stops and then race their way to the checkered flag. That's when the elbows get out and the whips are cracking. Here, it feels as though the whips have been cracking from the first minute and they haven't stopped yet.
Yeah, I think normally on a normal race we would have probably 10 to 15 minutes of hard racing at the start of the race. It then eases into sort of that little in-between area of drivers just trying to get to that final stint of the race, and then that final 15 to 20 minutes, that's when the elbows start to come out. But there has been races like this before where it's elbows out the whole way through, and no one is willing to give up anything. They're normally the races that we have the most safety cars in, i.e. Bathurst of season 1, where we had 3 safety cars in the first half an hour of the race. But that, and normally after multiple safety cars, the drivers then click and say, oh, maybe I should actually drive a little bit cleaner throughout the rest of this race instead of how I've been driving. Just a quick update as well. Jackson Rayhana has been given a drive-through penalty for the contact that took David Gallo off the road. So that's his night done pretty much as well, without a safety car coming out there and letting him pass. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, and it's unfortunate that it's happened, but it could have happened to any of the drivers out there, not just necessarily Jackson. It could have been anyone, out on track, and that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, unfortunately, for them. Lap 11 of this race.
Look at this.
Oh, we can see Vella and the Luthway battling it out. Also wanted to mention Danny Davidson has taken a pit stop already here. Zach, he came in early, trying to possibly get into some clean air and out of this battle and maybe get a bit of an advantage later on in the piece. So Vella continues to put the pressure on Luthwaite here. It is going to pay dividends for Danny Davidson, who's chasing down Ben Brook. We'll see how easy he can get past him.
Not going to be an easy task for Vella to get by Luthwaite. You've already seen that Luthwaite's defence has been staunch tonight. De Bono leading this one still. 4.2 now the margin. He's gone like a scalded cat, hasn't he? He's absolutely taken off. 4.2 seconds in, well, what is essentially 1/3 race distance. We're on lap 12. We're at the 21-minute mark. Where's that time gone? That only feels like 5 minutes ago we got this thing underway. Phil Vella, Sam Chapman, Daniel Byrne. It looks as though a vast majority of the field want to extend this opening stint out as far as they possibly can. Here's a battle at the bottom of the screen, bottom right. Mitchell Noble fighting for 14th, and he's looking at Matt Tesorio. So that's again the battle between the SRW contingent. John Baldwin has maintained 16th, but Jeff Adams has got by Chris Noble for 17th, and Darren Faye's in behind them as well. So action aplenty, battles everywhere around the circuit. The boys are staying across it for you as best they possibly can, showing you 2 battles for the price of 1 at the moment. 21.5-minute mark. De Bono, Luthwaite, Vella the top 3, and Dylan De Bono Forever the bridesmaid, always never the burrow, could well be about to turn that around tonight, much to his delight, no doubt, for Velocity Sim Lab as they make their way down the back straight once more. Oh, hard to know where to catch your breath in all of that. There's just been so much action, relentlessly intense competition in the opening 21 minutes of this race, 22 now, and pit lane activity about to intensify. Phil Vella's on pit road, boys.
Yeah, so is Daniel Byrne as well. Don't worry, Zach, I promise not to mention daylight savings to you throughout this broadcast, just to keep your mind at ease and straight on the racing action out there. But one thing that we have been doing the last week or so is some free season giveaways. I know, I deep dive, don't you worry about that.
I was going to say, who's your informant? I didn't have a word to them. I'm looking at
possibly the 20-minute rant you went on about daylight savings during a recent LMP2 broadcast.
Yes, possibly that as well.
Possibly that.
Sean Benici, you can thank him.
Yeah, we can thank him. Yeah, talking about the Alaskan time zones, of course. But
that's it, exactly.
We've been giving away some free seasons recently here in SRW. We've got a full season to give away, as well as a full 12-month subscription for 2025 to give away here tonight as well. Lap 30, we're going to give away the full year. Momentarily, we're going to give away the season subscription. So I'm going to pull over to Hutto. Hutto, can you please... Actually, I was going to say, can you please pull up the stat for me. We're not going to reveal what the stat is, but I want people in the chat tonight to guess who has won the most championships. Sinker, you made them 15 minutes long, so unfortunately it gets to the end of them and then they disappear for 10 minutes. So that's what happens, and I can't edit them while we're live on air. So I want you to put the stat of who's won every championship, Hutto, and I'm going to ask the question to the chat. Who's won the most Super Formula / F3 championships in SRW? That's going to be the trivia question for our season giveaway.
There we go. Oh, now, pit lane activity. Leader on pit lane, Dylan DeBono. Fair to say, he has driven an extraordinary opening stint. Can he go on with it? We'll wait and see. Aidan Luthwaite, Sam Chapman follow. This looks to be the critical lap for a good portion of the field. Doug Gowan, Scott Pocock, Sam Katakazinas, all following in. So too Adam Lavis. The top 7 yet to stop, all on pit road.
So Danny Davidson, Phil Vella coming round to the final sector now at the moment. So we'll see. Just to confirm as well, if you think it wasn't 15 minutes long, it's 24 minutes long, Zach, is this little sponsor thing. So I'll sit here and try and skip to the end as much as I can. As Davison and Vella come down the main straight here, they're not going to jump Aidan Luthwaite for second position. In fact, they've actually given up time to him through all of that there. So maybe a mistake from Vella's part to give Luthwaite a free lap where he could push on his own, because they have lost a little bit of time to him there. I just saw an RC message come up. Car 8, 5-second penalty. Contact responsibility, lap 7. So that is going the way of, I believe, Tyler Sheaf. So all of his work in this race thus far, you know, he's 25 spots up at the moment. Needs a pit stop. Yes, he does.
And had to get stopped, yes.
Yeah.
So big blow to him.
It is a real big blow to him.
But what's interesting there too, boys, is Dylan DeBono's lead has been trimmed from, it was in excess of 4 seconds. It's now only 3.5. Luthwaite's under tremendous pressure from Davison here. Vella's not too far away from latching on. The young bloke from Whiskey Business Racing has his hands full at the moment as they head down the Old Main straight at the British Grand Prix venue. So turn 1, as it would be on the old circuit. And have a look at this side by side on the under Maggots Beckett's. So that was Cops that they navigated side by side, and Davison has made light enough work of Luthwaite to relegate the GSRC IndyCar champion-elect to 3rd. Vella, Byrne, Chapman, Gowans, Pocock, Fay, Katakazinas, the top 10. By gee, there's been some jumbling of that order during the pit sequence.
It really, really has. Car 18's been given a drive-through penalty, a 5-second penalty, for contact. So Chris Noble's been given a 5-second penalty to apologise. Richard King's off the road and spun round before Maggots and Beckett. He's going to drop a heap of positions here, Zach, and that now puts him in the negative of positions gained here. Oh, it's a real issue for him. We're going to quickly check out this battle that's been occurring here. Matt Schmidtke, Ben Brook, Matt Gerard, all in tight contention here. This is all for P14 as Vella goes down the inside of Luthwaite on the bottom screen as well. So there's battles aplenty all throughout the field, but we've got to give our mid-pack and our back runners some
absolutely
some highlights
some
as well.
Fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they're just as much part of the show. And they've delivered their fair share of action thus far as well. Tyler Sheaf on pit lane whilst we watch what's going on the main straight here. Ruthwaite has now been relegated to 4th place. It's lost 2 spots since returning to the circuit. DeBono, Davison, Vella 1, 2, 3. DeBono's lead has been trimmed to 2.6 as well. So that is dropping down significantly in the last couple of laps. Davison and Vella now hitting their straps. Ruthwaite trying to go with them. And if they can catch DeBono, by gee, we're going to have one hell of a fight on our hands in the final half hour of this race. 27 minutes gone. You're watching Ben Brook. Oh, Brook off the road.
Oh, that's
parking up.
Oh, no.
And done.
Has he done?
Brook is out.
What's he done? What's he done?
What's going on there? Well, it looked as though he was parking up and about to get on the tow rope, and all of a sudden he's rejoined the circuit well down the order. That is a strange one. 18th place. Watch this.
Oh, you know what? Oh, so I reckon because he's caught the grass, he's played the smart move. Instead of just planting his foot to the floor and trying to get out of it, he's done the smart play, just pull the car up and come off nice and clean instead of hitting the wall. That's what it seems to me off the back of that one there, Zach, because
that's a very strange incident.
There's no reason for it aside from that, pretty much.
Absolutely none.
It's a real struggle.
Well, unless he didn't want to reenact the shenanigans of the final laps of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix the other night, then yeah, I'm not really sure what you can offer up as some sort of an excuse for that. We'll wait and see. We'll seek some clarification from him at the end of the night, I'm sure. We pick up Gerard and Schmidtke at the moment. So Matt Schmidtke sitting there in 14th place, 0.4 off Gerard at the moment, holding his own very nicely. I'll tell you who else is racing well. Adam Lavis up 4 spots in 11th. Of course, the producer and director of Monday Night Motorsport on our platforms on the GSRC. Luthwaite back to 3rd. Luthwaite back to 3rd. There it is, bottom shot. Oh, it's wide. He's wide at the end of the back straight. Luthwaite and Vella still side by side. That's a captivating battle. You're getting the onboard shot from Vella. You're getting the full shot from the top screen as they head down the old main straight towards Cops. And Luthwaite back to the top 3. Up 3 spots so far tonight. He's going to earn it because Vella's not going to rest on his laurels here. Byrne and Chapman in behind that. Then Pocock, Gowans. Look at Vella. Back down the inside, and then the outside, and then the inside again. And Vella goes back to 3rd in extraordinary fashion. The elbows are out at the halfway mark.
Who said a moon boot could stop you from racing at absolute maximum levels, absolute maximum pace? Phil Vella, it's ridiculous how good Phil Vella is, even with a moon boot on, or at least an ankle brace as well. This battle has been intensifying all throughout this one, and it almost feels like they're triangulating their way up towards Danny Davidson, trying to get amongst the battle with him. If they can all catch Dylan DeBono, well, what a hell of a way to end this race. But the one thing we still haven't had yet and could play a part is a safety car. Will that change the game? Not just change the game, will it change the culture of this race? Luthwaite trying to go for a wild move up the inside of Vella. Vella trying to hold him off here. Does well to keep position in towards the stadium section. Phenomenal job there from Vella to defend, but Luthwaite licking his lips at the prospects of getting this move done.
Down the back straight. Watch this. The slipstream, the draft will play its part here, potentially for Aidan Luthwaite. I'm not sure he's going to be close enough. He's going to go for it regardless. Luthwaite dives to the inside. But Vella's going to have the run around the outside to hold sway on the right-hander at Loffield. And back to 3rd place he goes. And Luthwaite has to do all the hard work again. Down the old main straight. He's there. He's forced to go to the high side. He's still there. They're almost locking wheels. That is ridiculously close. Too close for comfort. Luthwaite's still there. He backs out of it this time.
Oh, he's parked up right underneath the rear wing of Phil Vella. A little bit of a wheel touch there through the fast right-hander, but somehow they came out unscathed through Maggots and Beckett's now, and Vella's just able to push on through as Luthwaite's just trying to get anything from this. He's trying to find any pathway that he can. He feels like he's got a Malways out at the moment because he just cannot find the page that he needs to get the map to get past Phil Vella, and Vella doing an extraordinary job at the moment. 31 minutes into this race, just about 32 minutes into this race. The battle continues on. Further back, Matt Tesseriero, Mitch Noble, Scotty Barton, Ben Brook, all involved here in a nice, intense battle. This is all for P16 on the road. Tesseriero, Noble, they're up 6 spots. Barton's down 8. Brooks up 10 as they all battle on down the back straight.
And Matthew Gerard off the road as well, boys. Not sure what's happened to Gerard, but it's around that Cops section of the circuit. Oh, that's a big one. Gerard's had a big one at turn 1, and that could well be a safety car. Where that is parked and the sort of shape that car is in, it's not in healthy condition. It's not in healthy nick. Will we get a safety car this time by? Let's find out. Oh, no. Big shunt, huge hit. Lost the rear of the car. And pit stop activity underway. Vernie, Rushworth, Demora, Ratcliffe, Rosenda. They've all made their way to pit lane. So too did Jackson Rayhana just now. He's just rejoined after setting the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 50.341. Gerard still parked there on the exit of the old first corner.
The safety car's parked at the end of pit lane.
Could this race be about to be stirred and shaken up once more? We'll wait and see. Safety car hasn't moved. Gerard still parked exit of the right-hander at Cops. Fastest point of the racetrack, you would argue. Certainly the fastest corner on the racetrack. And if he's staying parked there any longer, we'd have to seriously factor in the safety car.
You'd have to assume it is safety car because the safety car driver, it's pulling out of pit lane. We have got a safety car on our hands. So,
and DeBono.
Yep, DeBono's in pit lane. Yeah, of course he is.
Davison continues on. Pit lane's going to become very, very busy here right now, boys.
Chapman, they're in as well, Zach. So, Pocock too. This is going to be very interesting at this point of the race. It's now a race of 2 halves at this point. The first half, full carnage, full commitment. Couple of big names went down. But now they get the hard reset. They get the lap back. They get back on the lead lap. You look at Jackson Rayhana. You look at Marcus Knitsky. You look, well, Matt Gerard's not going to get it because he towed back to pits. But you look at Rayhana and Knitska. They're now going to be back on the lead lap. They're going to be fueled to the end. This is going to be an intense finish.
So just for the benefit of everybody at home, remind us, will Rayhana and co be waved around here?
Depending if So if we follow the ruling of whoever causes the safety car doesn't get the wave around, everyone but Matt Gerard, who is a lap down, will get a wave around.
Copy. So Gerard's obviously towed to pit lane now and off the racetrack. He'll be stationary there. He's been stationary for 27 seconds or so. One bit of news that we did miss as well, along with Mark Gomez's retirement, Sam Stride's also parked up and done. So unfortunately, irrespective of whether we end up at the top of the leaderboard through Aidan Luthwaite or Sam Chapman potentially, they're the only 2 hopes we've got left here. We're going to have the bottom 2 on the totem pole as well. Have a look at how intense a hit that is. And that's on replay. That's in slow-mo, ladies and gentlemen. That has destroyed the rear end of the car for Matt Gerard. Night done, race done. I mean, he can get back out there off the tow rope, I'm sure, but any hope of being a part of the results in this equation have fallen by the wayside. A huge hit. Yeah, Denny Davison leads it from Aidan Luthwaite, but important to note, boys, Davison and Luthwaite did not stop, so just how much fuel saving are they trying to do at the moment?
Yeah, this is going to be a major moment for these drivers in this race, and this right now, this could be the real turning point for a lot of drivers in this one. Whether they've saved the tyres, if they've taken tyres at this point, is that the smart play? Could possibly be being run to safety car, and you're not going to lose too much time to your competitors. Hutto, what's been some of the movements out on track in terms of pit stops, and how are we looking for strategies at the moment with some of these drivers?
I think Danny Davison and Luthwaite have definitely missed their mark by not coming to the pits now with, close to 25 minutes left in the race. A tank is only expected to last about 23 to 25 minutes itself, and if these guys haven't come in, it might be early doors for those 2.
There's Rayhana getting his lap back, boys.
Well, he's
blitzing on by the safety car.
He's back in
now. Excuse me. The other thing as well, Noble, Tesorio, they've not pitted either. Benici and Rayhana have been in 3 times now. Rayhana's down 29. Watch for Chris Noble, right? Noble's only down 12 on where he started. He's climbed his way back to 17th. He is good to go to the checkered flag. So he might be about to re-imprint his mark on this race. Danny Davison and Aidan Luthwaite, a huge question mark hovering over them right here and now. Do they exit stage right to pit lane? Well, Davison does. Luthwaite's going to chance it.
This might be... I want to say this is a smart play from Danny because all of a sudden he will be fueled to the end. He can take Tizer. He's going to drop some track position, of course, but he's going to be in a much better position than what he would be if he would actually stay out. Dave Roberts, Matt Schmicke, they're also in as well, so they're willing to roll the dice on this one. Luthwaite, he's the real big gambler at the moment. Can he save enough fuel to get home? That is going to be a massive play if he can get it done in this race. Only 2 cars to drop out of this one thus far. Sam Stride, Mark Gomes from the GSRC side of things out of this one at the moment. It's going to be a tough battle to the end. We are under safety car at the moment, so it is time for our trivia giveaway. The question that I asked earlier, and I want everyone to put their answers into the chat. I'm sure Hutto's pulled up the stat, although I'm pretty sure we both know what it is. Who has won the most championships in F3 or Super Formula Lights in SRW? Get them into the chat. First one I see in there of the correct answer will win a free season next season of SRW. We will explain how you'll be able to get your free season later in the piece, but get your answers in. Who has won the most championships in F3 / Super Formula Lights on Wednesday nights for SRW? Get them in there now. Oh, JP's already got it. JP's already got it immediately. He said Vela. Okay, well that ruined that one. Okay, James, you can race for free next season now.
There we go. Just a bit of confusion there, boys, with regards to returning to the racetrack because Danny Davison just came in and has come back out and is now ceding position to Phil Vela.
Yeah, he didn't.
Daniel Byrne.
The pit exit would have been closed. So he's come out of a closed pit exit.
Yeah.
So he has to wait and let the whole field past him. So I'm going to let Steve decide in the chat if he wants to give it to Jordan or if he wants to give it to JP. JP, our broadcaster of the Thursday Night 8-6s. I'll let Steve decide because Jordan has actually given the correct answer of Phil Vela. JP hasn't previously raced with us. All right, so JP's saying he's staff. He gets a free season anyway. Jordan Ferguson gets the free season next season. He will be able to... he has no RC audio. That's why Davison's dropping down the order here, Zach. So that's why. Okay.
Now, that's a strange one because obviously I knew something was awry as I saw him re-entering the racetrack to the point where he was getting on the anchors to avoid not passing the safety car because the safety car was in similar position to him as he was rejoining the circuit from the pit lane exit, and then all of a sudden got on the anchors, tucked in behind both Aidan Luthwaite and Dylan De Bono, but then, as you saw, he has now dropped right down the order to 34th position. A long road back from there for Davison, as Brad had already alluded to, potentially missed the opportunity to dive to pit lane. And the same question being asked about Aidan Luthwaite here and now. Oh boy. Such great drama has already unfolded, but the race-old adage, isn't it? The age-old adage. Safety cars breed safety cars, and the field is bunched back up, and we're getting towards that crunch end of the race now where it's all on the line. So I just feel as though we could be in for, if it's even possible, more intensity, more carnage, more action in these final 20 minutes, and it's going to be Aidan Luthwaite to bring us back to green this time by, as you see the safety car has peeled off and headed for home to pit lane. So Aidan Luthwaite for the Gentleman Sim Racing Club at the end of lap number 20 is going to bring this field back to the start-finish line to start lap 21, the final third of the race, ladies and gentlemen. 41 minutes gone, 19 to go. The Australian Open World Nationals, the Interclub Challenge between SRW and the GSRC. It's a GSRC leader at the top of the tree. It's Sam Chapman in 5th and Adam Lavis in 10th place, but the rest of the top 10 is littered with the SRW contingent. Here we go. Back to green at Silverstone, and the youngster Aidan Luthwaite brings the field back to the start-finish line. Let's go. The final third of the race. Everything to play for. So much riding on this. And can Aidan Luthwaite limp home on fuel, or is there another string in the tail in that regard?
His tank is 5 laps older than the rest of the field at the moment right now, Zach. Lap 18 was the big lap that a lot of drivers came in, including DeBono, Vella, Byrne, Chapman, Gowans, Pocock, Fahey, Catakazinos and Gallo inside the top 10, as well as Lavis and P11 as well. So Luthwaite at the moment, he is in the same boat as Matt Tessariero. They both came in on lap 13. It's going to be an intense end to this race. If there's any more safety cars, it is only going to help those who are pit earlier than the others. But if there isn't, it's going to be a tough task to get this thing home, especially with the likes of DeBono, Vella and Chapman all over the back of him here as DeBono tries to hook it round the outside here. Please no Hamilton Verstappen into Cop's corner. Please, please do not have it happen. They don't. DeBono pulls out, but Vella, lucky he didn't try and seg it up there because they could have had that happen to them. Car 22, 15-second stop hole penalty. Contact under a passing under safety car, so that is going the way of Dave Roberts. Unfortunately for him, there's been a big stack up at Cops. Massive moment. Stunt.
Benjamin Brook caught up in that.
Jason Depp as well. Chris Noble.
Yep. And Noble was on the comeback trail, and all of that has gone belly up for Chris Noble. Thankfully, everybody's been able to resume, I do believe. So no harm, no foul there. We are good to keep racing, but that doesn't work for Aidan Luthwaite. Another safety car would work beautifully for him because that would help him. If 13 laps is the full tank green run, then he's got to get, I think, 17 out of this second tank to get home. He needs another safety car as far as I'm concerned if he's going to make it on fuel. It would be a Herculean effort if he could pull this off. DeBono, Vella, Chapman well placed at the moment. Chapman down the inside of Vella trying to fight over and argue over the same piece of real estate. Look at this, SRW v GSRC. DeBono at the front having another crack at Luthwaite. Vella and Chapman there arguing over the same piece of real estate. Burns in there as well. They're all bunched up. Everything riding on these last 18 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. The run down the back straight. Luthwaite, DeBono, 0.2 the margin. Vella is third. He's managed to gap Chapman, who's under pressure from Byrne and Gowans. Big send by DeBono to go back to the race lead.
Gets the job done in towards Brooklands, does DeBono. He leads them round now towards the old Grand Prix start straight. Luthwaite P2, Vella P3. Chapman and Byrne make up the top 5. Burns having a strong run. He's up 8 spots. Gowans is up 5. Fahey's up 5. Pocock up 6. Catakazinos up 9. Gallo only down 1 inside the top 10. And then Chapman, Vella and Luthwaite are all up forward. DeBono up 1 thanks to the loss of Mark Gomes throughout this race here. Roberts into pit lane to serve his penalty as they come through Maggots and Beckett's. DeBono leads them round. It's intensifying as we get into the final 15 minutes of this one, and it's all to play for the front end of town. Do they come together or do they keep it clean? We'll have to wait and see because it is on the line for both leagues at the moment.
So DeBono back in familiar territory. He's been there much of the night. Luthwaite clinging to second. What will Vella do in his quest to get back to the top end of the summit? He needs to find a way by Luthwaite if he's going to go with DeBono. Chapman's in there as well, bringing the next string of cars along. It's just Luthwaite and Chapman in the top 10 now for the GSRC. You boys are on the cusp of a whitewash here. But Luthwaite flying the flag for the underdogs at the moment. We're in enemy territory. We're visiting your server tonight. And Aidan Luthwaite and Sam Chapman are holding their own. There's no doubt about that.
It's unfortunate that some of the GSRC drivers had to pull out of it either last minute or before the actual event started. But hopefully this has actually tempted some drivers. Vella's up the inside of Luthwaite, and if you're watching this and you had the opportunity to race in it, I hope you feel jealous right now because this has been awesome racing thus far, and I hope it makes you realise that when this opportunity comes up again, if it does come up again, you want to jump on it at first opportunity you can. Car 076, 10-second penalty, passing off the track under local yellow. That is going the way of Danny Davidson, so that is his race. I think we can agree, Zach, done and dusted. 14 minutes to go. There's no way he can come back from that.
Not at all. Down 22 positions on where he started. So the big blows throughout the course of this night continue. Jackson Rayhana, actually, let's check in on him. The comeback trail, he's back to 22nd now. Fighting and arguing over the same piece of real estate, trying to make it 21st. Can't get by Richard King just yet. Has the fastest lap of the race, but that amounts to nothing at the end of 60 minutes. 1 minute 50.341. He's in a swarm of GSRC cars there. He's got Richard King in front, Eduardo Zamora behind. They're trying to go with Nathan Verney and Andrew Rushworth. King gets by Verney. Rayhana wants 2 for the price of 1 to go to 20th, and we'll get it. He's back into the top 20. What a wretched run of luck it was for him at the start of the night, but he's finishing off, albeit in a losing manner, in a losing night at the office. He's finishing off in a strong bit of way. This is magnificent charging right to the very end. Never say die from Jackson Rayhana. He's back in the top 20.
This has been a race of what could have been for Jackson Rayhana. And hopefully we get the answer to that question in due time from him. Mitchie Nobles had a moment at this point in the race. Where is he on track? Here he is. He's just up further. He is still rolling, but he must have had a slight half spin only momentarily. So the mid-pack still running on strong. Vela now sits P2 on the road. He has gotten past Aiden Luthwaite. Chapman's still up there with him as well. Burns still makes up the top 5. Katakazinos has now gained another spot, up 10 inside the top 10 at the moment, as Baldwin and Baldwin and Noble battling here. Car 18, 10-second penalty. Failure to hold brakes, causing disadvantage lap 21. That is going the way of Chris Noble. So the night only goes from bad to worse for Noble, and that's a complete write-off.
When we get to the post-race show, there are so many cases of what might have been, and he's just one of them. Now, the next thing, Chapman by Luthwaite. Oh, Luthwaite has dropped down the road. Luthwaite's in trouble, and that's his charge done as well. Luthwaite dropping an enormous amount of positions there. He's down in 8th, and Sam Chapman goes to 3rd. But they've lost a lot of ground to Vela and De Bono, 1.4 behind the 2 SRW boys. De Bono leads Vela 0.3 the margin, and Aiden Luthwaite now on pit lane conceding defeat on his night. And there's another case of what might have been for you, ladies and gentlemen. Extraordinary drama here. And there's the other point, right? 11 minutes to go. We got back to the line before that 11-minute marker. 1 minute 50 is about the benchmark at the moment. So it's touch and go as to whether this is 6 laps or 7 laps from here. So keep an eye on that as well. This could get flagged at 30, but we could very well get back in the final seconds of that 60th minute and go for lap 31. So that would have worked against Aiden Luthwaite as well. That now isn't a factor that we have to consider. This is a factor we have to consider. Look at Phil Vela up on the outside of Dylan Ruado.
Oh, the battle is on between them. 2 of the best contenders we've ever had in Super Formula Lights and SRW. Vela, the most championships to his name. De Bono, arguably the most championships that he could have won, lost in the dying embers across this past year of SRW. But he is hungry and he's fighting for this win here tonight. If he can take this one, it'll be a great momentum taken into next week's F1 Shadow Round here on SRW, as well as into next season of the Cooler Masters Super Formula Championship as well. De Bono, he's wanted to win that title as every single season. He gets so close, and then for one reason or another, he misses out. Vela, he's the opposite end of the spectrum. He rocks up 9 times out of 10. He wins the title when he can get a full season under his belt. It's maximum pressure moments like this that put your eyes on the screen and make your heart break or put it back together again when you get those narratives that you want happening. And Chapman right now, he's the leader of the GSRC narrative. He is the outside edge pick, because if these guys come together, he's there taking the win in this race.
He's the unknown entity in this, isn't he? Because look at your top 10. You got 8 SRW, 8 of which are in the top 9. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The rest of the top 15 is GSRC. So it's 8-7, unfortunately. 6 of the 7 for the GSRC, a 10th through 15th. Now, Vela and De Bono still arguing over the same piece of real estate. Vela tried the inside, then the outside.
He's contact with it!
Exactly as you mentioned! Sam Chapman leads, and the SRW boys have come to blows, and there's 2 more contenders biting the dust.
We mentioned it at the start of the show. We mentioned there could be a bit of an outside edge pick on this one. Chapman, could he be the one? Could Dougie Gowans be the one? The Mr. Bradbury of SRW. All of a sudden, what happens with Vela and De Bono, it comes true. They have it coming together in this race. Replays coming your way in just a moment here, folks. But one thing, I mean,
that is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how it can happen like that. But you see these guys racing often enough, and you know when it's going to happen. So De Bono had the outside line.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, he just wiggled across slightly, and it almost was like just a slight net code that dragged him in across the front of Vela's car. Oh, that's a tough going for them.
And it was almost as though De Bono's car, it looked as though he had a little bit of oversteer on the exit of that, and it was sending him right, not left.
Yeah.
Even though it was a left-hander, it looked as though the wheels were lighting up and wanting to send him right. And that's taking him straight into the path of Vela. They've dropped to 11th and 12th, respectively, and it's just created a logjam from 5th back in this running order as Daniel Byrne comes to pit lane as well. So there's another one taken out of the equation. Sam Chapman with 7 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, and I reckon about 4 laps, because the last time around was a 51.1 for Chapman. I think that's going to get us to time on the 30th lap. I don't think we're going to be getting to 31 here, boys. 1 minute 50, 3:40, 5:37.20. We're going to be very touch and go, very close. But Chapman is now the leader, and it's out to 2.5 seconds. It has ballooned out a second in the last lap. And Sam Chapman, who's minded his own business all night long and has been the under and quiet achiever, could be on the cusp of his greatest moment in the sim. There's no doubt about that. I mean, he's had good success within GSRC ranks. Absolutely. This could be a defining night in the cockpit for him and for the club. And at that moment, for Vela and also for De Bono, De Bono's had to come to pit lane, I believe. Vela's persevered and soldiered on. He's now 10th. And right behind him is Jackson Rayhana, who's moved up to 11th. Where the bloody hell's that come from? He's 6.2 seconds off Vela, so that might not necessarily be an issue. Richard King and John Baldwin are arguing over the same piece of real estate, 12th and 13th. But all of a sudden, that's gone from 8 to 2 to 6 to 4. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10 for SRW, 1, 7, 8, 9 for the GSRC. But at the end of the day, you're not going to remember who had what in the top 10. You're only going to remember who won the thing. And at the moment, Chapman's within reach of it.
Yeah, and at the moment, Dougie Gowans is not setting a light on the timing sheets to try and chase him down at the moment. But what an ironic twist it would be for Doug Gowans, who helped organise this, if he were to win this race. What an absolute narrative. It would be the classic, look, wouldn't you know who won the pony? The one who organised the draw has won the pony off this one. But it would be pure, excitement and it's the way that this can happen for them as Pocock tries to get up the inside of Katakazinos here in towards the stadium section. Katakazinos still battling with him here. Both these boys are up double-digit positions in this race. They're just trying to fight within this top 5. Gallo's on the back of them as well, so he's inside the top 10. They got Adam as well in behind, as well as Scotty Barton lurking in behind them too. So 5 minutes to go in this race. Not long now for Sam Chapman to claim the checkered flag. But Dougie Gowans has to find anything that he can, any semblance of pace, to try and chase down and challenge Chapman here to this win.
Keep an eye on the clock, boys, when they get back to the line. If it's anything around that 3:40 minute mark or 3 minute 40 second mark, it's going to be 2 laps. So Chapman leads, Gowans second, Fay and Pocock and Katakazinos up 13 spots. Jeff Adams up 15 spots. They're the 2 big movers of anyone in the top 10. Katakazinos now 4th on David Gallo. Look at this. So what we were saying earlier about working as teammates as in your club has gone out the window. It's all guts, all glory, win it or bin it sort of stuff for these guys now. They are racing within inches of one another, and there could yet be another sting in the tail as Pocock and Katakazinos run side by side to the end of the back straight. Keep an eye on the clock. I'm keeping an eye on Chapman as he comes round the final corner. You know what? He's a real chance as he comes across the line. It's 3:42. The last lap around was 1:51.086. I think next time by will be the white flag.
Yeah, this is going to be a tight finish for these drivers. There's no chance of a safety car at this point. We're too close to the end. If this would end under safety car, surely you'd ask for your money back at that point, because it has been all on for young and old throughout the whole race.
They would absolutely ride if it was to end under safety car at this particular point in time. Chapman's lead is 2.6. Fay is chasing Gowan. Pocock is under tremendous pressure from Katakazina's Gallo. Barchin and Ravis are trying to latch onto that, and Phil Vella's got back to 9th. Rayhana's still 5.5 seconds off the top 10 on Jeff Adams at the moment. That's not working for him. Also not working, within inches. Look at them. Pocock, Gallo, Karakazinas. Oh, hold your breath, boys.
This is going to be incredibly tough at this point in time. It is just under 2.5 minutes to go, or just about 2.5 minutes to go this race. I have to agree with you. I think it is going to be one more lap to the line. Oh, this is going to be tight. It's ultra harsh conditions for these drivers, mind you. They're in tough battles. Did they take tyres? Did they not take tyres? Who knows at this point in time. Hutto, I mean, you've been sitting in the background letting me and Zach cook for the last couple of laps. What's your thoughts on everything that's happened, especially with Vela and De Bono at that point?
Oh, and it's been an absolutely intense race inside that top 10. It's been fantastic to watch these guys go corner for corner. Very unfortunate they came together, but it's been nothing short of very, very exciting for me.
Should be the white flag. 1 to go. You've more than well and truly got your money's worth tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It sets up an enormous week of sim racing on the platforms of the GSRC. We're going 500k around Indianapolis on a Friday night, and we're looking forward to that. Let me paint the picture for you. 7 is going to turn out to be a very lucky number for this guy on screen, Sam Chapman. 7th in the championship. 7th when the championship on the GSRC side of things, the Super Formula Light Wings and Slick Series, visited Silverstone. 7 positions gained on the grid tonight. And his previous best finish in this championship was a 2nd earlier in the term. And to add more fuel to the fire, he relinquished the opportunity to go racing in the Super Formula Light finale to broadcast it for us on our platforms of the GSRC. So this is just desserts for being a team player and for being a very dedicated member of our club from a committee standpoint and from a racing standpoint. He hasn't had a hell of a lot of luck in some championship exploits over the course of time. Particularly bad run in Formula V a few terms ago. We ended up on the sideline for 1 week in Formula V. Have a look at him. He's celebrating. He knows. This is magnificent stuff. A defining moment in the sim racing life of one Sam Chapman. The beers will be on him tonight because victory will be oh so sweet, not just for him, but also the platforms of the Gentlemen Sim Racing Club. Last turn, checkered flag, the 29 from 8th on the grid wins the inaugural Australian Open Wheel Nationals on the platforms of SRW and the GSRC. Gowan's Fay, Pocock 4th, and then Vela, Katakazinas, Gallo and Adams. Rayhana got back to the top 10, so we'll have to find out how that happened. Someone's come around the last lap there, because Rayhana was 11th. Richard King's come home 10th. Daniel Byrne, John Baldwin, Tyler Sheaf, Greg Heaney, Eduardo Zamora. So in all of that, the narrative has changed here quite significantly. 2nd through 7th for the SRW contingent. 4 GSRC members in the top 10. And then outside of that, so it ended up being 8 and 7 in the top 15, but in a completely different order to what it was 10 minutes ago. What an incredible night at the office, and what an incredible win for that man there, Sam Chapman.
It was an intense race from start to finish. We had a little breather in the safety car period. As Zach mentioned, 4 GSRC drivers in the top 10, 6 SRW drivers up there as well. but it was GSRC who have claimed top spot on the timing tower here tonight with Sam Chapman taking the win here at Silverstone. I mean, if you like what you saw, if GSRC will like what they saw, I know Sinker liked what he saw. Surely we got to run this back at the end of next season because this was intense. It was epic, some great racing. And if the next time this race is run, if we got to have a complete split of 20 and 20 from each league, imagine the intensity that's going to be on offer for us.
And just to give you an indication, ladies and gentlemen, as to the pressure and the expectation on the shoulders of all and sundry tonight, look at the guys that fell to pieces, fell into trouble, had issues along the way, didn't bring their very best to the table. Pressure's a funny thing in this game, guys, when it all hinges on one night.
Yeah, well, we had a heap of incidents throughout this race, of course. It all started with Sean Bonici ending up off the track and in the wall, or just off the track, it seems, earlier in the piece. So this was, I mean, it was hectic early on. And, I mean, these sorts of incidents, they were happening left, right, and centre. One of the biggest ones, of course, was Jackson Rayhana. He ended up starting from pit lane, but, I mean, even Matt Gerard, he was in the wars as well. This was early in the piece. He was alongside one of the Pace Syndicate boys here. This was down towards the final corner. So much happening throughout this one. And, I mean, Gerard's race just went from bad to worse. Same for this man, Chris Noble, as well. Oh, God, he was in the wars from the very beginning.
2 or 3 incidents for Noble tonight. That one all on his own accord, and it all just fell apart from there. That took him out of contention for the top 10, and he never really got back in. He got a little bit of a reprieve off the safety car restart, but unfortunately it went pear-shaped as well. You'll see that in a few moments' time. That was David Gallo, of course. Again, champion in the SRW ranks and unable to get beyond 7th tonight. Then Jason Depp, 3 wide into that right-hander, was never going to work. And he was the unfortunate one left behind. And then that was one of the big moments of the night. That was 2 GSRC regulars taking one another out, Scott Barchin and Mark Gomez. That's going to be an interesting rivalry to watch when the new SFL season, too many acronyms, Super Formula Light season starts up on the platforms of the GSRC Tuesday, October 1. That rivalry will be renewed, and that was just unfortunate. That was just one of those trip-up knock-on effects. Everyone backed up. This was a big incident.
Oh, yeah, Knitska in a sandwich. We thought this was going to be an early safety car with him off the track and parked up on the side, but he was far enough off that RC decided they were not going to call the safety car. Another moment with Chris Noble as well as Jeff Adams as well through the same first portion of the lap. You see Noble in behind and then tried to duck it up the inside and just took too much track and really just cut off the nose of Adams there through that moment. Mark Gomes, we know what that one is. That's when he pulled over to tow back to pit. So we'll go. Yeah, so this is when he got the penalty and he decided, I've had enough. That's my night done and dusted, unfortunately. There for Gomes. Shane Ratcliffe, he had a couple of wars tonight, including a couple of off-tracks as well for Velocity Sim Labs. And, that's not a spin you want to have happen. Dean Singovic
and to give you an indication as to how much action unfolded, that incident for Gomes where he parked up and retired for the night was only lap 9. So we're only a third of the way through the highlights, ladies and gentlemen. Strap in, we're here for a while.
We are here for a while.
Dean Singovic.
All you can do is laugh. Dean Singovic had an off-track, pulling the classic Spinovich move. Richard King as well, later in the piece too.
That was, and then Richard King again. Just that the rear end just did not look comfortable going through cops on that occasion.
I feel like
lit it up, got it out of there.
I feel like a lot of these drivers, especially early in the race, maybe because of how they were pushing, just ended up with really hot rears, and they were just struggling for grip out there. I mean, you look at Noble, runs it wide down in towards Brooklands. Like, it was a tough race for a lot of these drivers, and I mean, it was. I particularly would not want to be out there by the way that these cars have been handling.
Absolutely not. Sean Bonici. Oh, geez. It looked as though the car was on the ice of Alaska there. Have a look at that. Jeez. Unlucky for Benici. We'll catch up with him next term on the platforms of the GSRC. This was another moment for Richard King in the wars tonight, but isolated incidents on all occasions for Richard.
Yeah, this was the big one. This was the one that caused the safety car.
Yeah. And to be fair, it was rather unlucky that the first one didn't, because when you look at the similarities between the two incidents, whooshka, bang, rear of the car says goodbye. But that was a properly written off machine on that occasion.
It really, really was. So we have our podium finishers in there now waiting to come and have a quick chat to us. So we'll get some B-roll going of the field whilst we chat to them here tonight. If you guys have enjoyed the action aplenty here with SRW and GSRC, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to both channels. We want you to get involved. There's a lot of racing still to come for GSRC. There's still some racing to come for SRW this Friday, Legends World Challenge. Next Wednesday, F1 Shadow Series as well. And then we're back for Season 4 in a couple of weeks' time. But
I'll give everybody at home a reminder of what the GSRC schedule looks like at the end of the broadcast as well, boys. Hamish, Brad, brilliant call from you. We'll have Chapo in a moment, and we're looking forward to having a chat with him. And also Darren Fay, Doug Gowans. But one thing that I'll ask of you, Hamish, if you don't mind, mate, is on the last lap there. So Aidan Luthwaite's towed back to the pit lane, ended up on pit lane on lap 29. So he's finished a lap down. That's number one. And number two is Adam Lavis has dropped out of the contention. He was in, I think, the top 10 going into the last couple of laps, and has only come home in 23rd. So I mentioned that Jackson Rayhana managed to get his way back to 9th. Adam Lavis might be one of the reasons why.
This is the reason. I did catch it on the cams, but this was what happened with them. So he was with Scotty Barton. They had Phil Vella ahead of them. So what's happened with them here? So Barton's always just spun it right in front of him, and yeah, that's why.
And poor old Lavis has just had nowhere to go. And that's what's allowed. There's Jackson Rayhana ploughing his way through, very happily so. So that was Rayhana going to, that would have been 10th on that occasion, and Lavis with some damage, I would assume, has then dropped down a little bit further after that.
And I'm just trying to see if I can find Luthwaite's moment, but there's nothing that's really coming up on the incident report at the moment, so I'm not sure.
And that was the other defining moment, the strategy play. If you zigged or zagged, those that zigged reaped the reward in some respects until the race ending. The crash that changed the narrative of the race between, of course, your championship leader, Phil Vella, of course, and also
Dylan
DeBono, who ends up not being the bridesmaid on this occasion. In fact, he ended up parked up down in pit lane, coming home 3 laps down in 34th position. So, 36th position, down 34 on where he started. So, neither of the drivers that started on the front row, and again, this was the talking point, wasn't it, going into the night? Neither of the drivers were able to convert a front row start into a race finishing position, which is unfortunate for them. But again, we mentioned it right off the top of the broadcast, didn't we? So much can happen in 60 minutes. As Murray Walker always said, anything can happen in Formula One, and it usually does. Same applies to Super Formula Light. Just great racing from these cars. And if that hasn't whet the appetite for both championships, for both categories, to rip and tear around again next term. I'm not sure when the Super Formula Light series starts again for SRW, but it starts Tuesday, October 1 for the GSRC. Nothing will. And yes, let's hope that our term wraps up December 6th. Let's hope the Friday night is week 10. Let's hope that somewhere in the lead up to Christmas, we are reconvening for another crack at that, because that was some of the most exhilarating Super Formula Light racing I think I've ever seen, boys.
I think it definitely earned its stripes. It definitely earned a permanent place on the calendar, at least in my eyes. So our championship ends on the 4th of December. So
perfect. Same week.
Yeah, the week after, let's go racing, I say. I mean,
we wrap up on the 3rd, and you guys wrap up on the 4th, and now our term proper wraps up on the 6th. I don't mind doing a bit of overtime.
That's fine with me. Absolutely fine with me. We're dragging our first podium finisher here tonight of SRW. Darren Fahey, 3rd position on the road for DFR. Darren, once again, flying the flag for DFR when Phil Vella decided I'm on for a podium, but let's have a little bit of a contact, a little bit of a kiss and cuddle with Dylan DeBono out there, mate. But a strong performance from you tonight. How does it feel to finish 9 positions up and on the podium inside the top 3 of some of the best drivers in Australia in the Super Formula Lights, mate? Because that was incredible.
Yeah, it feels pretty good, mate, to be honest. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I mean, it was a tough end to last season. You were in contention for the championship, couldn't quite get there in the end, but you have a strong running tonight, 3rd place. We have an F1 Shadow round next week for Belle Isle. That could be a good opportunity for you to carry some momentum into next season. Then obviously we go into next season next month. Does this help give you a little bit more confidence back in the system, especially when Mr. Impenetrable Phil Vella can make mistakes out on track and you keep it clean like that and beat him on the road?
Yeah, well, Phil's well ahead of me, and it was unfortunate that he came together with Dylan. So we all fly the flag, mate. It's just unfortunate that he had a net code and was out of contention. We've got to remember he's in a moon boot still.
No, I'm going to claim no excuses for Phil now because that was a ridiculous drive with a moon boot on.
Yeah.
Especially after last week as well. I don't know if he can pull that as an excuse. Obviously, we'll be hoping to see Jay Dixon in this field again next season as well into if the 2nd annual Australian Open Wheel Nationals happen as well, because there's really no Grand Prix that line up with what would be the date for the next event. Mate, it's been an incredible night. It's been an incredible race once again. Let us know who helps get you and Downforce Racing out on track. Anyone else who wish to give a shout out to as well. And for myself, the rest of the broadcast team, SRW and GSRC, congratulations on P3 on the road here tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I will say thanks to SRW, GSRC, all the guys that organised this. Pretty good event. Hopefully it grows. First of all, got to thank my sweetheart, Leanne, my little girl, Harper. Got to thank all the DFR boys. I've joined their team and they've been really good and helpful and really encouraging. Got a shout out to the old Kittens boys. We reformed for a shit. Oh, not shit, for shits and giggles on a Monday. So, who else? End of year party at Kittens. Get there. I don't know who else. Jay Dixon also overseas. I hope he's watching.
I hope he is, and I hope he's enjoying it as well, Darren. But we're going to let you get out of here, mate. We'll see you next week for the F1 Shadow round. If we don't get a chance to speak to you, best of luck next season.
Thank you. Cheers.
Well, Zach, we have arguably the most important man who actually finished on the podium outside of the winner, the man who helped organise this whole thing together, Dougie Gowans.
Yeah.
It feels ultra fitting for him to finish on the podium, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, instant success. We got wind of this at the end of last term, didn't we? There was a big press release sent out. SRW, GSRC are putting this event on September 18. Be there, in the words of the late Mike Raymond. And it lived up to the hype. It was something that we all built towards and looked forward to throughout the course of the season. We had it penciled in the diary. We knew that we wanted to be front and center. We didn't want to miss it. And then for the work that's gone on behind the scenes between Doug, Josh, and everyone else that's combined both sides of the fence, I think they can be very, very satisfied and very, very proud of what's played out on the racetrack and how it's been received.
Let's drag him in and have a quick chat to him here. Mr. Dougie Gowans of Velocity Sim Labs. When you know who, well, didn't necessarily win the pony, but came second in the in the pony draw. Mate, you put the event together and you finish on the podium. I mean, could there have been any sweeter way for it to finish out for yourself?
Oh, look, yeah, I'm super proud of the event that's just been presented to everyone. I really like to thank the GSRC boys and SRW boys and all the people behind the scenes, such as yourself, Hamish, and Brett Hudson, and Josh and Joe from over at GSRC. It's been amazing. We worked together really well to get this event up and running. And from my perspective, it was a cracker. I had a thoroughly fun race. It was tight. Racing against some of the GSRC boys. And at the end of the day, I had to be a bit lucky to come and get some chocolates.
I'd just like to point out, Dougie, no blinking on the broadcast.
Oh, you're a legend.
Mate, I had nightmares last night leading up to this.
Legend.
I had nightmares last night
Oh.
leading up to this. I was like, oh, please do not have any issues. And then I saw all the drivers on the grid hopping in and out, and I'm like, no, it's not blinking. They're just jumping
what's
in and off
going
the
on?
grid. I'm thinking, please don't happen during the race, and it didn't. We got throughout the whole thing, and no issues
I'm
happened.
very happy for you,
Yeah,
mate, and no doubt you'll sleep well tonight.
Mate, I need a rum after that. I'm not going to lie. It's
Have one for me because I don't drink anymore, and I think I need one too.
That's brilliant.
But,
That's brilliant.
oh, mate, it was a great race from yourself. Unlucky for Dylan and for Phil, who had it coming together in the last couple of moments of this race, which then promoted you up into onto the podium. But, mate, you drove a clean, consistent race. You drove a typical Doug Gowan's race of be there until the end and you'll get something out of it. And that's what you've done here tonight. You managed to grab yourself a podium, giving you some great momentum into next week for the next F1 Shadow Round as well, into next season for Season 4 as well. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to call this race and been an absolute pleasure to see you battle it out there on track. I'm liking the new Velocity Sim Labs liveries. They look nice.
Oh, you think that? Yeah, Dylan done those. I think he done a cracker job.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, no, we're obviously we wanted to showcase them tonight, and looking forward to the next season coming up. Sam and I were just looking at the incident between Dylan and Phil before, and that's it. That code is very unfortunate for both of them.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But like I said, you've got to be there at the end to get the chocolates, and Sam did a fantastic job, and obviously I kept myself clean, and Darren not far behind me, so we're all quite surprised we're here, but we're also very happy.
Very good to hear, mate. Well, let us know who helps get you and Velocity Sim Labs out on track. Anyone else you wish to give a shout out to as well? For myself, the rest of the boys here in the booth, and both SRW and GSRC, congratulations on your P2 on the road here tonight.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'd like to thank Velocity Sim Lab, High Koki Power Tools, Here to Race YouTube channel. Thank all you guys again. Like I said at the start, it would not have happened without everyone coming together and putting that on. I'd like to thank the wife who sat out and tortured herself by watching me race tonight. As far as I know, my brother, my sister, and my mother, Matt, Harry, and Jackie, are watching, and even some old school friends perhaps. Thoroughly enjoyable night. And thanks again very much, guys.
Well, Dougie, you are an absolute gentleman and fully deserving of a podium here. Best of luck next week and into next season as well. Looking forward to seeing how you and the rest of the Velocity Sim Labs boys go. Enjoy the next break for this week. Although if you come racing on Friday in Legends, then that may not be such an enjoyable time. But
have we got the Legends on? Oh, no.
We do. And it's at Sandown as well, so that's going to be a tough run.
Oh, those things on those curbs, holy shit.
Oh, yep, exactly. Oh, mate, hope and pray that you survive on Friday. We'll see you next week back here in SRW.
Thanks very much, Hamish. Thanks, Zach. See you later, guys.
Cheers, mate.
Well done. Magnificent from Doug. Our race winner's disappeared from the green room. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Maybe he got sick of waiting for us. I don't know.
Possibly. He should be used to waiting by now because if you, as you know, because you're very well educated on what goes on in GSRC land, our post-race shows can sometimes go longer than the race. So he should be used to sitting around and waiting. But we'll hopefully have a chat with him very shortly. In Sam Chapman. What an incredible performance from him. You guys mentioned the defining moment of the race. I cannot wait to ask Chapo exactly what was going through his mind when he came round the corner and saw that the top two had come together. I mean, that was so unlucky, as you guys have already alluded to, but you got to feel for those guys. I mean, Vela was able to continue on and finish in the top 10 and did so very well, moon boot and all. And then, unfortunately, of course, Dylan parked up and that was him done for the night. It's moments like that happen in the heat of battle. Netcode's one of those little, technical gremlins that can't be helped. It did look as though Dylan was sliding anyway, but we'll never know how that might have played out had it not been for the net code, and then all of a sudden the seas part. We anticipated something like this, didn't we? I might bring Brad back in at this point in time. We anticipated something like this unfolding, didn't we? We knew that once the interclub rivalries, hostilities had been sorted out, then it was going to go on to, well, every man for himself. And it didn't disappoint unless you're an SRW fan, because there went your hopes dashing out the window.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic racing throughout the whole field. Look, absolute heartbreak for the SRW camp, seeing DeBono and Villa come together. But Sam Chapman, he was there waiting, and he got the win. I guess, yeah, congratulations to him.
And Hamish, he's just jumped back into the green room, mate. So let's drag him in before he disappears again, before he has another chance to bolt. We'll have him in here to have a chat with us very shortly. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that, mate. Coming back to you in just a moment. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Race winner, round winner, championship winner, Australian Open World Nationals 2024. Sam Chapman, good evening to you. You've done some cool things in GSRC. There's no doubt about that. You've notched up a couple of championships. You've had a couple of podium finishes here and there. Absolutely. That has to, however, be a new career highlight, mate. Well done.
Oh, geez, it's sure going to be up there. That's that was a wonderful thing to win. There's a lot of really quick guys in there and some really good racing. So yeah, stoked with that. Obviously, probably got to thank Netcode for that position as well to a certain extent. But I've been on the wrong side of those gods before, so yeah, unfortunately, it does happen.
You owe Netcode a Christmas card this time, Sam.
Yeah, Netcode's finally on my Christmas list after many years of getting coal.
I was saying, mate, you've been in the wars, you've been in championship contentions, you've been in race-winning positions, you've had incidents. I'm looking at, last term in Formula V as a classic example of something that go tits up for you most weeks. But thankfully on this occasion, everything went beautifully for you. I mean, you drove a well-controlled race, and it looked as though, and I mentioned it with regards to the way in which you've come to the front of the field. You just played the game in your own way. You minded your own business. You stayed out of trouble. You were somewhat the quiet and underachiever of the night. Talk us through the race from your standpoint, and then I'll get to the defining moment when you actually found your way to the race lead.
Yeah, it was, there was so much pace around the front that, and it is a long race, and there's only one race. So I knew there would be some mischief here and there, and figured it would probably be best if I wasn't involved in it. And, while I had decent pace, it was probably, 10th or 2 off those top guys. So, yeah, it was a case of sort of making the way through the field, making sure you're making the right strategy calls, so just making the way all the way through in that first stint, and then and actually thanks to Jackson, Matt Schmidtke were in the chat with me. Jackson Rayhana, his recommendation was take tyres in that final stop as well, under safety car, because I wasn't really going to lose a position for it, and it probably helped me hold that spot towards the end of the day, because the guys behind were starting to have those tyres fall off. So yeah, it was just a case of managing that race and managing the risk, not over pushing past what you can do, and yeah, it all paid off at the end.
I mentioned the 3 7s as well, mate. 7th in the Super Formula Light Championship on the platforms of the GSRC. Relinquished a couple of spots to graciously broadcast the final round for everybody else's enjoyment. Sat in the commentary box with me for 3 hours when you would have probably much preferred to be out there. 7 positions gained tonight, and 7th when the championship visited here only a couple of weeks ago. All the 7s, and they said it wasn't a lucky number.
Well, it must be a lucky number, hey? Like, it's it's not been a car that I've really bonded with. And I did a bit of practice last night, did a few laps last night, and then, did some laps obviously beforehand and just tried to get the head in the game on it. It sort of all ended up being lucky in the end, which someone unexpected, but yeah, there you go. That was that moment. It was it's one of those ones I was sort of still hanging with them, but as soon as they stopped fighting each time, you know, and then the bloke behind was in the slipstream, they would start to pull on me again. So I was sort of relying on them fighting to keep up, and that also balked. I think Dougie behind a little bit too. So which sort of helped pull away from his slipstream too. I think I probably would have been able to, given he was on older tyres, but yeah, certainly the lucky number, and unexpected in these cars.
What was going through your mind when you saw those guys to the outside there, knowing that they were the only two standing between you and leading this thing and flying the GSRC flag very high, very proudly, very fondly at the front of this field? I couldn't think of the F. I know one F word very, very well. I couldn't think of the F word that I wanted to use in that instance. It was broadcast and family friendly. However, Chapo, what was going through your mind there? Because that was with about 4 laps to go, and we're in the final 10 minutes, and you all of a sudden have a clear bit of racetrack, a clear view ahead of you, and nothing in your way. What was going through your mind with regards to your mindset and your focus and your plan of attack, and how you would bring this thing to the finish line in a calm, controlled manner, bring the car home in one piece, and still maintain the pace to win the thing, knowing full well that we've seen it lost from the lead a couple of times already tonight. We've seen you crash out of contention in the past. Tonight, you had a clear track. You had the guys were, 2 or so seconds behind you. So the weight had been lifted. The pressure was off in a matter of speaking. But that being said, being the leader comes with its own different sort of pressure.
Yeah, it's funny you mention certain F words, Zach. My first question to you was going to be where we passed the watershed. The thought process was there's no effing way. And then I sort of slid through, and I was sort of like, oh, okay, well, you better not get the jitters now. So just went, okay, well, let's just put in clean, consistent laps, try and pull a little bit on Doug behind, and then once that was out to about 2.5 seconds, I started taking it pretty easy, and just not over pushing, even just lifting at points where I might otherwise not lift, because that's exactly what was going through my head. It's don't be the dickhead that spins out of the lead. That's not what I want to do. And I'm not immune to a spin in these cars, as I found in SFL this season. I don't think I got a podium in SFL this season. So
you got a second at Phillip Island, mate.
Did I? When was that? That must be yonks ago.
I'm just having a look through the results here. Second at Phillip Island in round 4.
There you go. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad someone's doing the stats.
That's what they pay me for.
That's what they pay the big bucks, Zach. So it was pretty much there's no way, but also it wasn't that unexpected, right? Like they're 2 hard races, and there's only one open wheel champion, so they were going to go for it regardless. So even if it didn't happen there was a decent enough chance at some point they came together on those last few laps, dicing for position. So it was just try to keep that consistent rhythm that with a bit of practice I was able to find around here.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time or our broadcasters' time, because we're probably already stretching the limits here. You mentioned the watershed. For those of you playing along at home, if you're familiar with GSRC broadcast, it can get a little bit fruity after 7:30 Western time, and we're past that threshold by about 4 minutes. And that's just usually because I run a very tight ship in that regard, and I happily say to the boys, look, friendly fire after 7:30 Western, because that's when you get upgraded from PG to M on free-to-air television in terms of the program classifications. So at that point, all bets are off. But thankfully, we've kept a lid on it here. How difficult is that, Chapo, to change your driving style partway through a race? Everyone's been going all out, all guns blazing, 10-10s, and then all of a sudden, you're just backing it off, maybe going 90, 95% rather than 100 or 110.
Yeah, it is. Like, I would say I was probably only 95% most of the race anyway, because I was trying to sort of, not burn up the tyres and, play it relatively safe. Let the race come to you a little bit. The people ahead, made errors here and there, and with safety cars and that sort of thing, bringing stuff back together, it wasn't necessarily worth pushing too hard unless in that final stint you saw the leading group really pull away, and they obviously pulled away in that early section. But in the back of my mind, it was, yeah, sure, but it would be pretty unlikely that there wouldn't be, a point in this race where someone, needs a tow and a safety car is called. So it's probably best I just, wait that out, get the strategy right, and see whether or not it comes to me, rather than trying to make, big dives and then lose a lot of time in the meantime. There were times in that race where I was relatively happily sitting behind other drivers, and even some quick guys ahead, we were still catching them because they were fighting. It was just taking it that little bit easier. So while I lifted off a bit more towards the end, it was not that dissimilar to, say, like a cold tyre lap, where you for instance, in cops, when you're on cold tyres, you got to give it a bit of a lift, because otherwise you're just going to loop it. And I was doing that here and there, but also obviously you don't want to lose your own rhythm too much, and then fall out of time with yourself either, which you sort of can in these cars relatively easily. So it was a bit difficult. I was a little bit jittery, as that sort of does to you, but obviously just very happy to take it home.
And let's not forget as well, you've started to find some sort of comfort, some sort of sweet spot with these open wheelers in recent weeks. We've seen what you brought to the table in the GSRC IndyCar series as well, mate. But, I mean, to be fair, it fell into your lap tonight. I mean, the incident for the two SRW boys, the fact that Jackson had his issue at the start, I'm assuming he's had a network connectivity issue. The fact that Chris Noble got caught up in it, a couple of incidents, the fact that Aiden Luthwaite ran short on fuel and then had an off-track moment. So, I mean, really, our three favourites were taken out of it. But at long last, I can say this because we've had two Interclub challenges in the past, as you would remember well, with the Australian or Australasian Supercar E Series, right? And they've towed us up on both occasions. We've finally won one, Chapo. How nice for you to be, I mean, integral in terms of the operations and the organisation and everything else that goes on at club level. I mean, you didn't necessarily have a huge amount of involvement in this one. I know Josh did a lot of the heavy lifting from our end with the SRW boys to make this happen. But from a committee standpoint, you must be proud of the fact that you've been able to bring the trophy home for us, and B, the way in which the club continues to go from strength to strength, and tonight is only going to help that the showcase that we've been able to put on here as the underdogs, as the guys that had less on the grid in terms of contenders. That must fill you with an enormous amount of pride. And I know Joe Baldwin and Josh and everyone else at committee level will be singing your praises tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it fills me with a great amount of pride. I mean, the gents, I joined the gents a month after I started sim racing, so it's been the place, where I've grown my racecraft over the time, from sort of up and comers up until this season, where I've been able to snag a couple of championships and that sort of thing and find a bit of consistency. So, yeah, it's a great league. I've always enjoyed being part of it, and then so to take this home is it's a pretty nice little honour, to be honest. And I'm pretty stoked that I've been able to. I wasn't wearing a GSRC livery, but I did put a GSRC helmet on. If you zoom in, I did that last minute. That was my little GSRC edition. But then I guess with that as well, you've got to thank everyone involved. Obviously, Josh for organising it. You guys for broadcasting, SRW for that suggestion. So Cinco and all those sort of guys. And the rest of the races, but the sponsors that keep us going too, and the GSRC, Sprayton obviously, who are a major sponsor, and along with Waste Options and GSRC merch, Orbic, Loti Racing, M-Wave, and Flash Graphics. They keep all this together, and they've sort of kept me on track for the last 2 years within the club. So yeah, no, stoked with that.
Ticked all the boxes that I now don't have to, mate. Well done. You've done my job for me. Appreciate that. Hey, we're about to throw it back to the boys to wrap it up here. But I think you've summed it up. Is there anyone else that you've left out of there that you want to thank on your way out?
Yeah, I've got a few. I think the locked up team that I've raced with for a while within the GSRC, they've just sort of finished up and become part of another team. So shout out to Mobile Locked Up and Viz and Ryan and Starkey and Brooksy and all those sort of guys that I've done a lot of racing with. Jackson and Matt that I was chatting to in the summit chat throughout the race. Jackson has been giving advice the last day or two as well, which is obviously very handy given he is our Super Formula Light champion too. And then obviously Vermilion as the team in livery for and their sponsors, Race Lab Overlays, Bev Design, Supernova Motorsports, Moser Racing, Hymo Setups, and Vermilion X Coaching. Along with, I think Dad's watching along at home, so shout out to Dad as well.
And that is another point that I'm going to go back to the boys with in just a moment, because you're the second person to acknowledge the fact that voluntarily or by being forced to do so, they're sitting down and watching the broadcast tonight, either on their own accord or through gritted teeth. I'm not sure, but no, it's great to see that family support is there as well, mate. Hey, well done. Congratulations. Magnificent. The toast of the club tonight and for the rest of the season. But the only thing you've done here, Chapo, is start off. It's not necessarily going to be an annual fixture now. It looks as though it could be 4 times a year, because they're already talking about a rematch after next term. So it won't become an annual fixture anymore. It'll become a quarterly fixture if that is the case. So it looks as though the start of a very healthy, fruitful, wonderful rivalry with the boys at SRW, who held their own for much of the night.
Yeah, absolutely, and they absolutely did. They've got some really quick guys in there and some good racers. A lot of them, I've raced in the 86s on Thursdays, as I've said as well.
Yep.
I did ditch the GSRC for Thursdays this season. They're not going to put V's on. You got to vote with your feet, Zach. Shout out to them. And all that organisation that's gone in place. I know there has been a lot of organisation for this, and getting it all together doesn't happen overnight.
Not at all, and you're right. I was wearing black armband the day that they said they didn't have a full Formula V series for Term 3. That is the best thing since sliced bread on the iRacing server. And if ever they get hold of the Hyundai XL, hold your breath. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Chapo, well done, mate. Congratulations. We'll catch up with you Friday night at the Brickyard.
Thanks, Zach. Talk soon.
And on that note, Hamish and Brad, I'll throw it back to you guys. What an extraordinary night here. I don't think enough credit also, just on a parting note, is given to Jackson Rayhana, because he came from a lap down, pitted just before the caution was called, and then drove his way back through to 9th. He got the leg up with the wave by, the wave around there, got his lap back, but then still you got to drive through the traffic, drive through the carnage, avoid incident, etc., and put in some pretty clean laps and some pretty fast laps as well. I think he finished with the fastest lap of the race. To finish 9th from the rear of the grid from pit lane is quite an achievement for that young bloke in the 57, and he'll come back seeking redemption with vengeance next time we do this, which will hopefully be, as you say, the week after Term 4 wraps up. But I think Chapo's point with his dad watching, and I know I think it was Darren that mentioned that he had family watching tonight as well. Just extraordinary, the way in which the sim racing community has grown and evolved, particularly over the last 5 years, ever since COVID started in March 2020, and we had nothing to do. We're locked up in our homes, and it was our escape from the insanity that we'd been plummeted into. Sim racing was our escape. It hasn't won everybody over, but this community and the following within it and the following of it has only grown in spades in the last 5 years, and it continues to do so. And as we say tonight, hopefully the start of while it's one big happy family and one big community, it is broken up into different sections through the different clubs and organisations. Hopefully tonight, the start of a very long and successful partnership and friendship with SRO from the GSRC standpoint. And on the way out, as I throw it back to you guys, I just want to remind everybody that I know you guys are in action on Friday night. It would be remiss of me not to mention that the GSRC is as well. The Indianapolis 500K from the Brickyard, 125 laps, final round of our IndyCar series. We're a week late finishing that because of the tech outage.
We are also a week late on our final round as well.
Exactly. A global IT outage that threw the world into the proverbial and proved once and for all that, we need to have contingency plans in place, and technology isn't foolproof. That happened back in July. So we've got round 10 of the IndyCar series coming up this Friday night from 7:55 Eastern time. And we're looking forward to that. The next term proper starts with LMP2 into GT3 Monday, September 30. These guys rock and roll with the Super Formula Lights on the Tuesday night. Preceding that's the introductory Formula. Wednesday night's going to be NASCAR trucks. There's one for you. NASCAR trucks, oval and road courses into supercars, going back to a prime time slot. Thursday night, GT4 back to an entree slot into Porsche Cup. And Friday night, IndyCar out, Radical SR8 in. And Mountain Men continues on Saturday nights as well. So a lot to look forward to in Term 4 on the platforms of the GSRC. No shortage of viewing options if you love your sim racing between the two entities throughout the remainder of 2024. What a night we've had, boys. Thank you very much for having me. That's all I'm going to say. I'm out of breath. I'm out of voice. I'm going to leave you two to wrap it up.
No worries at all, Zach. Thank you so much for joining us in here for tonight's race. Of course, Hutto, we cannot believe Tyler Sheaf anymore when he says he's not feeling happy at the start of a race because he was up 24 positions in this one into P13. So Sheafy just continues to lie to himself every single week. We've got a massive season upcoming for everyone here on SRW TV. Of course, next week, the F1 Shadow Series rounded at Belle Isle, of course, matching the Singaporean Grand Prix. That'll be happening next week. We'll be going live with round number 1 of SRW as of the 6th. Sorry, that's the wrong part where the calendar is. Let me find where it is. As of the start of October, if I can quickly find it.
You mean that time of the year where we go from 3 time zones to stupidity?
No,
Yes.
possibly, yes. We're not going to start that. We're not going to sit here for another half an hour and talk about daylight savings. But,
I'll get to that on Friday night, don't worry.
Starting on the 8th of October, of course, round 1 for the V8 Supercars, Warner Brown Tools V8 Supercars Series out at Long Beach. Wednesday night, Super Formula Lights brought to you by Cooler Master. We're going racing at Road Atlanta. On the Thursday for the GR8 6s, we will be racing out at Oran Park for round number 1. Legends on Friday night. We're changing time slots from 6 p.m. practice, 6:20 p.m. start time of the broadcast to 7 p.m. practice, 7:20 p.m. start time for that series. Round 1 will be happening out at Zolder for that particular series. And then, of course, Warner Brown Tools Supercars Championship will be at Long Beach as well for round 1, same as the Tuesday series. So massive season coming up next season. We've got 4 paid series coming your way, 1 free series in the Legends World Challenge on the Friday nights. All your registration details can be found at www.simracingworld.com.au. That is www.simracingworld.com.au. It is linked in the description of the stream on both ends. As well, if you're interested in racing in the GSRC, then head to race.tgsrci.com. That is race.tgsrci.com. It's also linked in the description as well. Going to give a massive shout out to all the series sponsors, including SRWs and GSRCs. For SRW side of things, of course, Warner Brown Tools, Shannon's and Cooler Master for being our title sponsors, as well as Neuropower, DSL Rail Services, Shunt Scenery, and Grim Industries, the home of the V8 Coffee Table, which can be found on Prime Video's Top Gear Australia in the news and interviews, little studio segments that they have there. It is centre stage for that show, as well to GSRC sponsors as well. Waste Options, Flash Graphics, merch.tgsrci.com. Lobeezy Racing, Orbic, and Sprayton Cider as well. Pure Tasmanian Sprayton Cider, I might add.
Yes.
I'm not a cider drinker. Are you a cider drinker, Zach, yourself?
No. I'm right up there with you with the whiskey and that sort of stuff. Reaching for a Canadian club as soon as this broadcast is done. However, I'm reliably informed that if I do get down to the Apple Isle at any point, Sprayton Cider is the place to visit. So I might be swayed. Like maybe something like an apple cider or something. I was only saying to someone the other day, I'm not much on apple drinks except when I'm in hospital, which is very few and far between occurrences, thankfully. But the apple juice seems to be about the only good thing on the menu when you're in a hospital. So maybe an apple cider might be able to sway me. I'm not sure, but no. So Sprayton do great work, and cider is one of those niche things in recent times, isn't it? It's come on leaps and bounds in terms of its following and the people consuming it, and therefore the evolution of it with regards to the different offerings, the different intake of alcohol, the different flavors, etc. and so forth. But Sprayton do wonderful things, and they're a massive supporter of ours at the platforms of the GSRC. Put simply, we wouldn't be doing as much on-air broadcast work as we do without their great input. And you mentioned all the others. Lobesy Racing, of course, has been a big supporter of our Tuesday night offering for a while, as Trent Lavis. And of course, merch.tgsrci.com complements race.tgsrci.com. So if anyone wants to get involved in what we do there, that's the place to go. And of course, Waste Options sponsor our Monday night GT3 offering, which is having a bit of brand new life breathed into it on Monday, September 30, boys, because that new McLaren's looking feisty.
Oh, it really is. It really is. I know a couple of people who've raced that thing in the Indy 6 Hour. They loved it. It's an absolute tank. But your race results as they stand, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight's event. As follows: Sam Chapman takes out victory for not only GSRC but also Vermilion Motorsports ahead of Dougie Gowans and Darren Fahey. Scott Pocock, Phil Vella makes up the top 5 with Sam Catakazinos, David Gallo, Jeff Adams, Jackson Rehana, Richard King make up the top 10. Daniel Byrne, John Baldwin, Tyler Sheaf, Greg Heaney and Edward Zamora make up the top 15. Shane Ratcliffe, Benjamin Brook, Danny Davidson, Chris Noble make up the top 19. So even after all of his troubles, Noble still managed to find himself inside the top 20. Nathan Verney, Jason Depp, Sean Benici, Adam Lavis, Andrew Rushworth, Callum Rossanita, Greg Johnston, Dean Sigovich, Mitch Noble, Matt Tesseriero make up the top 29 cars on the road. So then we're back to Scotty Barton in the top 30. Dave Roberts, Aidan Luthwaite. I mean, what could have been for him? Same with Matt Gerard, Matt Schmidtke, Marcus Knitska, Dylan DeBono, Sam Strider, Mark Gomesh at the back end of the field for the 38 competitors in this race. It was a massive race. If we see it return next season, I'm going to be straight on board, to be honest with you. I do not want to miss the next one. It's looking feisty, it's looking spicy and everything in between. But from SRW and GSRC, we thank you for joining us here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for the first inaugural Australian Open Wheel Nationals here. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe and the bell icon as well on both SRW TV as well as the Gentleman Sim Racing Club broadcast channel on YouTube, as well as the GSRC YouTube page. Be sure to hit the like button as well as on the SRW Facebook page as well. It's been a massive night of racing. Thank you so much, Zach, for joining me, as well as Hutto in the chat as well. It's been absolutely epic thus far here tonight. I so look forward to seeing what occurs next time out on track. But I'm Hamish Monroe with Zach Cabin and Brad Hudson alongside. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Australian Open Wheel Nationals out at Silverstone. We'll see you guys soon for the next piece of sim racing. But until then, stay safe, drive hard, and as always, bye for now.
Almost the same situation. Better contact going down to the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanak